believe that I am the best person for the job of President of the United States. My unique talents give me the ability to be assertive and diplomatic at the same time. I'm a person who will spike the conversation, who will get politics rolling and stimulate new questions and new answers to our current political dilemma facing our nation. I believe I have a keen understanding of the economy and how to improve where we're at relative to other nations around the world. I believe that our goal at America's Third Party was to create a very strong platform in which would propel the American people forward with new opportunities and a new possibility of creating a better nation, a cleaner environment, and less war. Person for the job of President of the United States. My unique talents give me the ability to be assertive and diplomatic at the same time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party and The Daily Show, The Daily Shut-In Show. I'm David Sponheim, and today is Wasteful Wednesday, Waste Reduction Wednesday. Yep. We are being censored. Yeah, we are being censored on a daily basis, and I think I've explained this to you about 1,000 times. If you have a curious position about that, you have to understand why. We have been the #1 show around the world, across the globe, on various alternative networks for some time, and the elitists are getting worried. The number of people trying to watch us and increasing our viewership has been enormous, yet the chatters have been shrinking. This is a purposeful event. They want to make it seem like we're not getting support. This is all being controlled. They're giving money to these people who are running these networks. Many of you have to tell your friends about us in order to actually get people in here, because we're fighting a stream of constant censorship. Okay, Green Tea asked a question: does the 5G network harm a person only if they're carrying a phone and can be triangulated? No. The 5G system is designed to work with anybody, anywhere, using thermographic scanners. If indeed it is weaponized, which we don't know if it will be or not, we know that the behavior of the 5G network has almost an omnipresent force. It has to be line of sight, though. 5G, if it is line of sight, is a dangerous potential weapon. And I'm not the only one talking about it. There are other people discussing it. Here's a warning video about the 5G that was brought to our attention.
Let's not forget the real silent killer.
So you're looking at a picture of some animation, apparently, and a target is picked in this animation, and the 5G system theoretically could be activated to focus beams at that person and then triangulate right there. It wouldn't matter if that person is carrying a phone or not. And as you can see, this is a theoretical model, completely animated. I don't think this is a weapon per se, but it could be. And here you have it stopping the person. All right. This is pretty serious.
Is your future if you do not stop it now.
Okay, so that video came to us, and it's warning. It's a warning to all of us that if we don't get safety testing done on the 5G network, we are dealing with a potential weapon. It's just a warning. Now, I'm not of the belief that this is weaponized right now. I'm not of the belief that it is potentially going to be used against people in public, but we've heard Barry Trower, a worldwide expert on the 5G network and on microwave technology and weaponry. He said that this is the worst thing we could ever do is put it in our schools. Now, I have questions about all these things that I'm going to put in the header right here. Now, these are questions that I think all of us have. And it's perfectly normal to have questions and, decide what's the real problem here. We've been tracking Dr. Liu and the person that killed him and all the different chatter that we're getting. There's apparently they searched through Dr. Liu's residence last week. Somebody rifled through his residence. His whole apartment was torn up. He was shot. They allege that the shooter was a person who he knew by the name of Gao. This man. They said that there's no motive, but we've got chatter here. If any of you speak Chinese, you're welcome to get your assessment of what's going on here. I'm going to post it in the rooms if you can see these rooms. This is a Chinese blog that they were both writing on. It's a Chinese blog that has information that I can't read. And I can't translate it because the translation tool doesn't work. But you're welcome to look at it. Edward Snowden's real name, yeah, thank you for bringing this up. We brought up the grandson picture of the Rockefellers. This is pretty wild. Yeah, we've got Edward Snowden. He matches the son. We think his name was E. Greenberg, the grandson of David Rockefeller. We also believe that Jacob Greenberg became Jacob Applebaum, the operator of the Tor server. And I'm fairly sure that Mark Zuckerberg was Mark Greenberg and had some facial changes done slightly. We're fairly sure that he got all the money from the Rockefellers. What struck me strange is when Mark Zuckerberg paid WhatsApp $19 billion for WhatsApps, at a time when even Google was offering $10 billion, Facebook came in and offered $19 billion. Anybody who would do that wouldn't really know the meaning of or value of money. And we know that Mark Zuckerberg stole the idea from the Winklevoss twins and paid them $160 million out of court. So Mark Zuckerberg pretty much did what Bill Gates did when he took the operating system of Gary Kildall, the CP/M operating system that he had developed, and used a bootleg copy of QDOS to give to IBM to get the first series of sales. 2 million sales IBM offered Bill Gates. It turns out that the Gates family is connected to the Rockefellers as well. There's a reason why they all changed their name, because their history is so despicable. They all are relatives of John D. Rockefeller, and his time on Earth has been marked with death and destruction. It's unfortunate that we are now talking about it. Our president didn't even discuss the fact that 100 million people died in 1918 due to a bad vaccination pool created by the Rockefellers. Yeah, this connection to the Rockefellers, to the Gates family, is very real. David Rockefeller, he passed away, but his son, David Jr., very close to William Gates and Bill Gates. It's an entire plan that they're trying to implement yet again. Meanwhile, they've got their fingers in this other deployment of the 5G network as well. They're involved in that. The safety factors are still very questionable. Right. Bill Gates is working on stratospheric aerosol injection as well. He's behind that plan, as well as the vaccination plan and the COVID ID plan. So they've got all their minions in place, and they're proceeding with a plan to ultimately force vaccinate the entire population. Now in Washington State, our puppet governor, Jay Inslee, I call him a puppet governor because, yeah, the truth about 5G, I'd like to get to the truth about 5G too. Yeah, unfortunately. Now, moving on, our puppet governor in the state of Washington has just announced that he's going to, well, I'll let the video speak for itself, obviously. Washington residents are now going to, who refuse the COVID-19 test, will not be allowed to leave their home for groceries. So they'll be Denver booted or whatever they do to lock them in their house. Now, mind you, this is at a time when we aren't even seeing hospitals with anybody in them. Nobody's experiencing anyone they know who had a COVID-19 case. No direct contact. They're using this as a smokescreen to push their agenda. But Jay Inslee, my governor, is head of the pack, trying to push for their agenda.
And make sure nobody dies. That ought to be a good night's dinner.
Next question comes from Natalie with King 5.
Governor, just how realistic is this with contact tracing? We know the state's already having trouble dealing with unemployment claims. How can you expect to start reaching out to people who may have been exposed? And then a second question for you. What, if any, is the current plan to allow drive-ins to open?
I can't give you a specific answer off the top of my head on drive-ins.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk over the audio, it screws up. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, my governor, Jay Inslee, is stopping all people from going to the grocery store who test COVID positive. This is the first stage in a very big attempt to stop people from doing what they need to do. He mentioned the drive-in, and the drive-in is, my drive-in in our area is the one in question. The owner has been forced to shut down because he doesn't have the ability to let people in the door. They won't let him in the door. Anybody, no cars can come in and sit in the drive-in because the state says he has bathrooms, public bathrooms. And I ask you, how can people possibly go on a ferry with a public bathroom, which they're allowed to do right now, and not go to a drive-in with a public bathroom? It just makes no sense. So our governor is completely asleep at the switch, and worse than that, he's actually telling people that he's going to actually keep them in their house. They won't be allowed to get groceries if they're COVID-19.
So I'll try to get back to you on that, on the specific, on drive-in theaters. Your question about how we can do this, the reason we can do the contact tracing is twofold. Number one, we've stood up an army, so to speak, or a fire brigade. Think of this as a COVID brigade. It's a brigade, it's kind of like a fire brigade. When you have a fire in your house, you call the fire department. They come, they put out the fire. We want to do the same thing for COVID. And we now have 1,391 people who on just a couple days' notice can be available to do what's necessary to do this contact tracing. Do what's necessary to do this contact tracing.
Wow.
Next question comes from Mayor with KXLY.
Hi, Governor. When it comes to contact tracing, how are you guys going to handle people or families who want to refuse a test or to self-isolate if they want to leave their home to get groceries? I know you said they can't do that. How will you make sure they don't?
Well, that's why I referred to the family support personnel. We will have attached to the families a family support person who will check in with them to see what they need on a daily basis, see how they're doing, see how they're faring. and help them if they can't get a friend to do their grocery shopping. We will help get them groceries in some fashion. If they need pharmaceuticals to be picked up, we can help make sure that they get their pharmaceuticals. So that's why we want to provide them some family support. Now, obviously, it'd be very nice if family and neighbors pitch in a little bit too, and we think people will do that. We're still in the West. There still is an attitude of taking care of our neighbors and our families, and we think that's going to be important. But for those who still don't have that kind of support, we're going to be there on a daily basis for them. Now, that's going to help encourage them to maintain their isolation too, and that's important to have a little moral support. As far as refusal, it just shouldn't come to that, and it really hasn't. We've had really good success when we've asked people to isolate. They've done so in the real high percentages. So we're happy about that. We believe that that will continue.
We want to open our economy. To do that, we need testing, tracing, treatment, and isolation if necessary.
Good artwork on her eyes, yeah. Well, these people are doing the leftist work of the New World Order, and they're trying to impose a socialist state upon our state, Washington. This state is a good example of how screwed up this plan is and how it's going to fail. Yeah, this Jay Inslee guy, I've had words with the guy verbally before on the phone. He is completely clueless. And he has no idea how he's going to implement this. He claims he has 1,300 people that are going to go in the field and be assistants, forcing people to stay in their house. Like a nice guy forces somebody to stay in their house. I don't think so. So more than likely, they're going to encounter the real Washingtonians that are out there. Now, I'm a real Californian who transplant to Washington. I grew up in Los Angeles. So I didn't really think that this area was that dangerous when I moved up. I had heard stories of people from Washington when I was in college. And we had a guy who played football at UCLA who came from Washington. And he was known for beating people up at UCLA. He had a record of beating people up in the dorms, literally beating people up and getting away with it. I went up to Washington. I had no idea what I was going to encounter. And I've been in a couple situations with people up here that went absolutely ballistic on their part. I had a guy pull a shotgun on me and literally holding it to my head with his finger on the trigger. And then, of course, I've had the swatting incident where the local sheriff were running around like cowards, pretending like I was this horrible person, which I'm not. And then I saw the backside of this and how incompetent our local law enforcement is. And the other side where we got people in their houses, they're ready to pull their triggers. And that's the problem. So this guy, this Jay Inslee guy who is completely clueless, he will go down in history as the true litmus test of this BS program of forced COVID testing and ultimately vaccinations. We're going to stop this. And I'm going to do it by building this third party. We're going to get answers to what this is and why our country is being forced to look at these things and not get any answers from our government. And if we have to build this party one vote at a time, we're going to do it. Our only option is to stop these people politically. Now, if you go to the other option, it'll be an all-out war. And I don't want that. But if this guy is so stupid as to think that he's going to go door to door in this state, most people vote for gun rights in our state, even if they're Democrat. Most people want their right to bear arms. Every single attempt by these Democrats to push gun control legislation has failed every single time. So you know he's in the minority, even though the majority of Democrats voted for this guy. He's really an absolute idiot. And he keeps talking about cap and trade legislation like Greta Thunberg does. And we all know cap and trade legislation is not addressing this right here. Why they are spraying our skies, creating the chemical problems that we're facing in our air, in our atmosphere. And of course, we're not getting any answers from the Democrats on what this is. And if you have questions about this because you listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., yeah, that's a serious issue. And if you want to avoid being chipped with the RFID chip with 666 in it, you may want to rethink your vote for Donald Trump, too. Because Trump isn't going to stop the 5G network from being weaponized. He's not going to discuss the dangers of vaccines. He certainly doesn't care whether you're chipped like a dog with the number 666 in it. Donald Trump is trying to profit from the COVID testing process. He and Jared Kushner and his brother Joshua Kushner are trying to make money on a thing called Oscar Health, where they roll out these COVID testing sites and then people like Jay Inslee implement them at gunpoint. Oh, this is just going to get worse and worse. Our country's going into a hellhole. And because Donald Trump won't start our economy up, you people are going to have to decide whether you support him or you support me. You really are. You thought your vote for Donald Trump was a vote for David's ideas because he kept stealing my ideas left and right. But what you didn't realize is you got the bad version, the corrupt liar version who stole my ideas. You didn't get David. So you have to understand, you either get behind this third party or you're going to be mowed over by the two-party machine of the New World Order. You won't have a shot. Now, I will succeed. I've never failed at anything I've ever gone into, and just because I'm 12 years into this doesn't mean I'm not going to succeed. Some people come in here thinking, David, you're just a loser. I have never failed at anything I set my mind to, ever. And if you think I'm kidding, I am not kidding. I have more than enough patience to last years ahead, and I'm more than willing to do what I have to do to expose the underbelly of these deep, deep criminals, these cabal of criminals. Rockefeller is at the center of the U.S. storm, but you've got all these other organizations like Carnegie, Johns Hopkins. All these people support the New World Order structure that the Rothschilds have laid out. We will be their opposition. And yes, this is David versus Goliath. This is another bout of David versus Goliath, but a whole different makeup. It's an average person who doesn't believe that money can buy everything, standing up against a corporate Goliath, an oligarchy, who simply want to buy everybody around them. And I'm doing it with the unmoney way, I call it. The opposite of money. We're going after intelligent thought and awareness, and many of you are starting to tune in, and I appreciate that. No, you never get the last laugh, man, because you are the person who's laughing. No one else is laughing. HR 6666 is really bad. It was developed by the very people we're talking about. Oh, I am winning. I'm not going to lose. I've already succeeded. I've got my message out there in 2008 and 2009. I realized I was censored in 2009. And I'm not a Democrat. I left the Democratic Party because I really do support our rights, our freedoms. I really do. At the core of my beliefs, I believe that the Bill of Rights stands against these people and will stand strong against these people. We don't need a president right now. We need a toolkit, and we've got it. This will continue to be your toolkit. And as we move forward against the power of money and the New World Order, we will build a party that will be strong enough to topple the two parties. Putting the obstacle of the two parties in front of us has never, ever stopped a third party from trying. We've been doing this since 1870. Various people like myself have fought the good fight, and we're going to win this time. Wisconsin Supreme Court strikes down state's stay-at-home order. This is a first step to stop the federal government push for more and more control. More than 70 people in Wisconsin test positive for corona. Okay. Well, they can't stop people from going out and assembling. It's in your First Amendment. And the Supreme Court stood up for it. Good. At least the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has overturned the state's stay-at-home order, ruling it unlawful and unenforceable in a high-profile win for the state Republican-led legislature. Now, Republicans are fighting for their right to go out without a mask on and do their thing. I absolutely support your right to do your own thing. I don't think you should be told what to do. I believe that there could be a request by people, hey, let's consider social distancing, but forcing it upon people and sticking Q-tips 6 inches into their head, that's not cool. You were sick in January. You might have had that. They'll try to say you had COVID because how crappy your tests are. Yeah, COVID tests are completely pushing 80% false positives. So when you hear about COVID stats, they're 80% rigged, okay? Putting that in perspective, just multiply every number by 20% and then you've got your answer. That's right. People are afraid to take me on verbally. I'm more than capable of going at anyone from a multi-phasic perspective. My analysis of situations is on the fly. I actually do a type of inductive thinking and logical thinking that can't even be competed against. We can actually come up with solutions within seconds of people coming up with obstacles. And I've proven it time and time again. And I've made prognostications that have come true, like we would never repeal Obamacare. We never were able to repeal Obamacare. Captain Huff says, you put a Q-tip somewhere close to my nose and I'll start swinging. Exactly, Captain Huff. You guys are sitting on the strength that will carry us through this nightmare. I don't want $1,200. I refuse to take dirty money. I don't think Sarah's salary gives her any money at all. I think she doesn't qualify for money. But I don't want dirty money. Every one of you taxpayers will pay $18,000 for the $1,200 you get right now. Now, if you need that money, I get it. Take it. Well, most of you you're the strength of our country. You're the people that are gathering in awareness and ready to do what we have to do to save our nation. And I appreciate that. You don't have to brag about your strength or how capable you are. I know how capable you are. I'm fully aware of your capability. I wouldn't have put together this wonderful chat room of people, and somehow you guys remained, so that's good. We've got a lot of people who are like you who are trying to get into our chat room that can't. But I wouldn't say thank you for being, strong, but I'm urging you to exercise restraint collectively. We're not a violent group and we're not in favor of violence. But individually, you're on your own. You can do whatever you want to do to protect your rights. I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. So we're at day 59 of the experience. It's been a very long experience. Many of you have been wondering when it's going to end. I never would have stopped the economy. I consider it almost a crime what Donald Trump did. Yeah, it's actually unconstitutional for a president to do what he did. It violates the 4th and 5th Amendment of every business. So for the Republicans to win in Wisconsin in the Supreme Court, overturning the state's stay-at-home order, that's actually a success and a win for us. I don't hate Republicans. I understand where you're coming from, but your president is not representing you. He has never committed to no forced vaccinations. Neither has Joe Biden. They both are willing to force vaccinate the population. I would never do that. And I'm the only candidate saying that, by the way. So here's Sarah, and this is day 59, in case you are wondering.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Day 59, huh? All right. Hello, the breeze. David was offering $500 a month, and since it's day 59, that would have been 2 months, so about the same. Okay, 625, thank you. New Hampshire Governor Green Tea 26 over at DLive was saying the New Hampshire governor is considering separating people by age, and old people would never be allowed to come out of their homes. And He says he thinks Gates. Wait, what? Anyway. They're going to try to put in a new bill to give people another stimulus. No. You doubt the bill will pass? I think it might. Not hypo, but hyper misanthropy. Okay, looking at, I should just say, why do you ask? But moving on. So the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin, that is pretty interesting. More than 70 people in Wisconsin test positive for coronavirus after attending a large gathering. Oh, I am almost always cold. Even today, I went outside to do some weeding, and I was like, do I want to go? I was either going to weed under the bushes because there's some ivy growing under there, or I was going to weed the driveway. And I decided to weed the driveway because it was sunny. And so I could get some warmth. And then I came inside, I'm like, do I pull out a t-shirt or do I look in the closet? And in the closet I still have all my sweaters up. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a spring sweater. So I put on my spring sweater. And it's true, I am often cold. Very often cold. In fact, when David's like, we really need an air conditioner for the summer, I'm like, I hate air conditioners. When I was living in Southern California, it's kind of weird because we just like air conditioned one room. But I'd be like, I would go outside or I'd leave the room and be like, ugh, so hot. I go in the room, I'm like, it's so cold. So cold. Like one of my pet peeves is having an air conditioner, especially a super cold one, blowing right on me. I hate that. I really, really hate that. Anyway. The surprising way a second stimulus could reach millions of Americans faster in Forbes. But I did get an air conditioner and I like it because it's not too cold. It just seems to lower the ambient temperature, so I think that's good. All right, Forbes, let me look at this. Oh, they could bypass banks entirely as tech giants are stepping up? What? The U.S. has sent out 88 million stimulus checks over the last few weeks, paying out almost $160 billion to Americans. Stimulus checks designed to jolt an economy that's been brought to its knees by coronavirus lockdowns are meant to reach Americans as quickly as possible, though legacy systems have somewhat hampered the process. As lawmakers debate a second stimulus check, financial technology companies are looking to help millions of Americans outside the traditional banking system get future aid quicker. But don't forget, your stimulus check could be seized by your own bank. And Bitcoin is suddenly back on the move. All right. Warring Democrats and Republicans have so far failed to agree on what should be included in the follow-up to the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act, but are expected to table propositions in coming weeks. I always thought table meant like they don't vote on them. Like they're table them, meaning that they're no longer open for discussion. Anyway. If enough people vote for David, then he could be your next president. Thanks for letting me know. Wait, so Golden Corral is open in your area, Vorpal Bites? Like an actual sit-down restaurant or what? Yes. I know it's a buffet restaurant. I'm surprised that it's open with the meat plant closed. Does that mean that your daughter's restaurant is now open? Because how can Golden Corral be open if your daughter's isn't? But so hopefully your daughter's restaurant is now open. Or your daughter moved to South Dakota? With your wife and other and daughter-in-law and the grandchildren, they all moved to South Dakota. But you decided to stay, or are you moving too? All right, some have suggested that the U.S. Federal Reserve created a so-called digital dollar and distribute it through Fed accounts, though such a service could take time to build. A digital dollar similar to digital currency projects in China and Europe could mean paper stimulus checks that will take months to distribute by post would be sent to Americans instantly. Like PayPal? In the meantime, internet payments, payments giant PayPal through its Venmo app, along with the likes of Square's Cash App and newer digital banks Simple and Chime, have helped get Americans get their stimulus checks via direct deposit. Chime, America's biggest digital bank by customers, was quick to begin piloting instant stimulus check payments earlier this month. For the 25% of Americans outside of the financial system, digital payment systems like PayPal provide the ability to participate in the digital economy while also avoiding costly fees, PayPal spokesperson Tom Hunter told Fox Business last week. In the current environment, we know that fast, easy, safe, and secure access to stimulus payments is of high importance to people. By electing to receive the payment through PayPal, recipients can avoid going to a physical check cashing place or even missing a paper check if they're sheltering in place at a different address to their registered address. You have livestock, 3 houses, and a restaurant building to look after. That's why you you stayed in Indiana. Are you going to try to sell the restaurant building, the 3 houses, or the livestock? You're going to try to sell it all and move to South Dakota? Maybe you could take your livestock. Banking industry watchers expect there to be a surge in demand for digital banking services due to the coronavirus pandemic. Coronavirus is going to further disrupt the wider banking sector, said Nigel Green, founder and executive of DeVere Group. Whatever gets you through the night, Tapine. No, take your livestock with you, but maybe you could sell the house and the restaurant. Anyway, or at least the restaurant. It will act as another catalyst for people to seek fintech alternatives to access, manage, use, save, and invest their money across the world. With financial technology upstarts building out their user base while brick and mortar banks are shuttered, bigger tech companies are eyeing financial services. The likes of Google, Facebook, and Apple have all begun offering banking and payment services in recent years. Google is reported to be building so-called smart debit card. The so-called smart debit card. Apple launched its own credit card last year. Facebook is moving ahead with a diminished Libra cryptocurrency project. Future stimulus checks could well reach millions of Americans via the world's biggest technology companies, bypassing banks entirely. Exactly. I would agree with misanthropy. Just don't take it out in public, Tapine. It was a Truth Hurts did facepalm. That was the emoji or emote. Could it be the large gathering? They were protesting the closing of business and now they have tested positive for coronavirus in Wisconsin. Could it be? But don't worry, the Wisconsin court has overridden the governor's stay-at-home order. They say it's unlawful, unenforceable, and a high-profile win for the Republican-led legislature. Wow. The tabs are back. I know they are giving me a little bit of anxiety, but that's okay. I'm not going to look through any of them. I'm just going to look at the news, and that's about it. You have a terminal client that does emotes. That's good. I like minimalism too. Back today they were talking about ordering some supplies for next year. Like, how many teachers need this particular item? And if you don't need it, let me know or whatever. And I'm like, actually, I don't need it. I'm good. But could you get me some graph paper and I'll just use what I need from the graph paper? Because it was like books of, they're called science notebooks, and like one page is graph paper and the other side is like writing responses. I'm like, yeah, I don't need that, but some graph paper, and I might not use the whole thing. That's true. People do spam emotes. The LA mayor said they won't open till there's a cure. There won't be a cure. That's ridiculous. I think, maybe the shining part is like the prices of houses in California could go back to high normal. They're so outrageously ridiculous in LA. All right, this was just about the okay, I want to go back because isn't it the oh yes. So the 4-3, that's a really tight court case. So they overruled, they said that the stay-at-home order was unlawful and unenforceable. 4-3, You feel like you should be moving to South Dakota once this is done, since their government is more sane, but I really don't want to live in South Dakota. It's so remote that I think that's one of the reasons that South Dakota didn't, shut anything down, because like everybody is physically distant anyway. Well, I guess that's now the case, Final Dream in Wisconsin. CNBC claims, this article is from CNBC, any extension of $600 unemployment benefits would help these jobs and industries the most. Thank you for bringing some levity to our thing. Oh, Mr. Bill. I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but Walmart sells Father's Day cards in packs of 5. Are they all the same card in the pack of 5? I could see like 5 different Father's Day cards. Because, I come from a big family, so I could buy them all for my siblings. Ah. Oh, goodness. All right. Workers with below average pay in industries such as retail, accommodation, and food services stand to benefit the most from an extension in enhanced unemployment benefits. The federal law provides $600 a week supplement to jobless workers that expires July 31st. $600 a week. Wow. House Democrats want to push the $600 a week into early 2021. But then some workers would earn more than double their wages while on unemployment as a result. Amazon has a new $90 tablet. Trump's calling Fauci unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Wait, they're going to LA County, you say, is not going to reopen until there's a cure, but it says LA County beaches are going to reopen. Oh, good. $90 for a tablet. That sends everything to Amazon. Like they don't have enough data and information and money. Nice. Bought a Kindle Paperwhite, but you totally changed it so that it won't connect to the Amazon servers. And you can use any ebook, not just their Kindle version. Trump, I think, is watching David's show. He privately questions whether coronavirus deaths are being overcounted. Fauci is projecting that they're being undercounted. A 1,000% is not a number. Should say 10 times. Ten times. Okay. Oh, what negative interest rates would mean for your wallet. That looks good. Bankrate Greg McBride thinks negative interest rates are inevitable in the U.S. For everyday Americans, that might likely mean lower mortgage and credit card rates and even lower returns on savings, if you get any return on savings at all. And it could even cost you money to put it in the bank. So bring out the mattresses. Oh wait, everything's going digital currency. Do you still accept paper money? Bring out the mattresses. Oh, goodness. It's hard to imagine being paid to borrow money or penalized for saving money, but the economic shock from COVID-19 may call for drastic measures. So, like the money that I saved, man, maybe I should buy some property. parts of Europe have had negative interest rates for 7 years, and it hasn't done anything to improve their economy. Their economies were reeling before the negative interest rates and continue to reel. And not just because of coronavirus. Yeah, all the places I go accept cash as well. It was like interest rates were going up and up and up and up. And now they went down and down and down. And now they're right around zero. 0.1% if you're lucky. Then they went up to like 2%. And then they dropped. I don't know. We'll see if they do go all digital. I am too, truth hurts. I'm in that habit. Which is a good thing, I think. I'm in the habit of saving money is what he wrote. Maybe it would be a good time to buy something. I don't know. Multi-million-dollar food bank delivery contracts are going to firms with little experience. Well, how do they gain experience? By doing. Vorpal claims if all I do is read headlines, all I get is lies. Yeah, you should always wash your hands after handling any money or banknotes. New clusters are growing, and so China is sealing off cities near North Korea. But the EU wants borders opened for tourism. Like, yeah. I wonder if he sold Wells Fargo. He sold a big bank stock. U.S. Bank Corp. Shopper, you're right. They should the cashier should definitely be using lots of hand sanitizer. Well, I think it's you're right. But Vorpal Bite says hand sanitizer causes cancer, or are allowed to wash their hands frequently. Should be given a break like every hour to go wash their hands. It's such BS. I'm gonna close out of this. Now I see where David learned it from. Well, you're right. They should wash them after every customer. But it's, how do you do that? Like, that doesn't, that's why I say, if you can't get to a sink, they should use hand sanitizer and then wash them every hour to wash off the hand sanitizer. Or they could wear gloves, so at least they're not getting sick. You don't have to take any of it seriously. You can, that's the way I think of it, as like, if I choose to wear a mask, that's on me. If you choose to not wear a mask, that's on you. No, I don't think anyone should have to do that. Truth hurts. Well, I've often said Vorpal Bite, I think, and all of you, I think that it's really about, do we have the capacity at the hospitals? If yes, then open the economy back up. Well, we seem to have that capacity at our local hospital, so. What gives me the right to say I want to open up the economy if we have the capacity at our hospitals to handle the people who get sick? I think you misheard me, Vorpal Bite. I said open the economy if we have the capacity to take care of people who are sick, and I think we do have that capacity. Oh, Vorpal believes that the economy should be open all the time. Twitter's going to allow their employees to work at home forever if they wish. That's good. All the kids are treatable, so that's good. All right. You say Fauci's known for that? Fauci's claimed that he doesn't think that states should reopen. it's hilarious that the person, some people talk about you're expecting them to say there's a new second wave. I think this is how political divisiveness occurs.
Okay, I made that on the stove. Welcome down, if you want. I'm trying to use that product up. Thank you. All right. Yeah, we bought some great stuff. Everything's got past due on it, though. You know, it's like,
Yeah, because we bought it and then we let it sit, I guess, but it's all good.
so we have to eat it. Yeah, I think it'll be good. It's perfectly tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've added some sauce there for it too. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for all that. It's a little break from the non-stop media encounter we have. Wow. Okay, we're looking at Dow Jones dropped another 516 points today. Active trading, a lot of losers. This is a great money grab for people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. I don't know how Elon Musk's stock is doing, but yeah, 516 points down. Tesla stock, let's take a look at Tesla stock. Down 18 points today. Take a look at the 1 year projections. Yeah, it's been pretty good. Tesla's holding on pretty well, being he's part of the big scheme to install 5G networks in our skies above us. He's getting pretty much coverage, you know. They say he's suffering, but no. He's got everything covered for him. He's going to close his California operation, though, in Alameda, he said.
Well, actually, California said that he can open, so...
Oh, they said he can open? Oh, well, that's nice of him. Okay, then I guess he doesn't have to move. It's a lot easier to stay there and keep working and making Teslas because people are buying them, so why not? Yeah, Mr. Bill says, you cannot keep the stores shut down much longer without that tax money. They'll have to soon lay off police, fire ambulance, and garbage trucks. Any thoughts of this? Great point. Well, Mr. Bill, the thing is, Donald Trump, the people that put this entire plan together and then gave Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi $6 trillion factored that in. Yeah, they're just going to try to bankrupt our country with $6 trillion. Nancy's already got a $3 trillion bill out there again on top of the $2.3 trillion we just put out there. So they're going to try to bankrupt the country as fast as they can and pay you people in the local law enforcement to violate your oath of office and go against your constitutional rights and then go into your neighborhood and hurt innocent people. That's what they're going to ask you to do. And our governor is asking these 1,300 people to walk into a potential dangerous situation. Very foolish of our governor, and I would never have allowed it as president. I would have told the governor, any governor that tried to violate constitutional rights by forced COVID testing and denying people groceries would be charged with a war crime. Any governor that tried to go against that federal law that I would instigate as an executive order would have to face my wrath. I would never allow a person like Jay Inslee to even be governor if he continued to do these things. Same with the governor in Michigan. I would never allow her to continue acting like a socialist communist that she is. No way. Our country did not declare martial law. You cannot deny people their constitutional rights. That's the law. That's it. Every law enforcement guy with any purpose or meaning would know that. And the guy that did do the video in Seattle that lost his job over it, remember him? Yeah, he got over $250,000 in GoFundMe money, and he said he's going to go take a trip around the world in a sailboat. Let's take a look at the Stag. That's right. This is the suppressor. This is a brand new way of bringing chemtrails to the ground. They weren't getting enough action with spraying you in the air, so they want to make these viruses more active because they found that when they were spraying the viruses on you with aerial spraying, with chemtrails, they weren't getting the same effectiveness. So this is the new technology that is coming out to kind of make sure you get cross-infected. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know if this is a monetized song, but I can tell you this is one badass smoker. This will smoke an entire community. Yeah, watch it deployed in an area outside of a Safeco field. Oh yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, it's a great way to get airborne genetic material and DNA and viruses that are alive into the population. It'll spray anything. It'll actually spray poison directly on people. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Sickest stuff on earth. Who would ever have thought that this was coming to our world? I just can't imagine it. Thank you. And you got a thing on Congress? Here's the bill that they're putting forth. The CARES Act, yeah. Strangest thing, it was first introduced, last action was modified March 20th. Look at this. The CARES Act. Yeah, so they're constantly making abbreviations and changes to the CARES Act, which first came out in January of last year. Yeah, people are wondering, how did they manage to put together COVID-19 planning a year and a half ago? Pretty weird. COVID-19 Pandemic Education Relief Act. All the funding is there. And then they got HR 6666, which is the tracing program designed to make sure everybody's bagged and tagged. That will have the RFID chip and the tattoo attached to it. Oh yeah, just because they can't give you a vaccine doesn't mean they can't stick a needle in you and force you to be COVID tested, right? Yeah. And Donald Trump and Joe Biden haven't made any statements that they would not force vaccinate. So you've got about 6 months to sit there and be kind of mentally stupefied by this whole thing until you realize you need to write my name in the upcoming election. I'm perhaps one of the few people that understands the complexity of the problem. Mitch, the Turtle Moscow McConnell, is pushing the Senate to pass a measure that would let the FBI collect Americans' web browsing history without a warrant, folks. Thank you, chatroom celebrity. Mitch, Moscow Mitch, he's doing the work of the New World Order. As you know, the Russian oligarchs bought our president. They work through people like this guy who gets $3 million for re-election money from Len Blavatnik, a Russian oligarch working for the man who rigged our election, Oleg Deripaska. This is the Mitch McConnell who's pushing for your web browsing history to be accessible without a warrant. Yep, Senate is expected to vote Wednesday to renew the 01 Patriot Act, and Mitch McConnell is pushing an amendment that would expand the FBI's surveillance powers. We all know that the Rockefellers pretty much established the FBI, so we're dealing with a New World Order takeover of our government, and they want to suppress any information they can and they want to do what is called disinformation. So not only are we seeing disinformation and suppression of information, but now we're seeing monitoring of our daily life. I mean, disinformation, misinformation, censorship, and monitoring of our daily life. They're worried that the word gets out that third party is going to topple the two-party system. Yeah, watch out. Yeah, this is not pretty for Mitch. I would hold him accountable for all the actions he's taking right now. And I believe he's acting as a traitor to our country, working for a Russian Len Blavatnik. Seriously. Len is not a Russian citizen, but he works as an oligarch for the Russian government and Oleg Deripaska. What Mitch McConnell did when he suppressed the impeachment trial and what Lindsey Graham did is tantamount to treason, and will be charged with treasonous crimes when I'm president, I assure you. This is not going to go unnoticed. Most of the things that they're doing will be addressed as war crimes. As our country continues to remain shut down for no reason whatsoever, our president is acting like a complete moron and acts like now he has to wear a mask. I mean, come on. What, 59 days into it, you and Mike have to wear a mask? Really? Green Tea says something very disturbing. New Hampshire's governor is considering separating people by age. Like old people never coming out of their homes. You're talking about Dick Nixon? Yeah, I don't know what Dick you're referring to. My fellow Americans. You know, Richard Nixon actually went against the oligarchies. One of the reasons why Nixon was exposed with Watergate is he didn't know who was paying his bills. Nixon thought that he was chosen. He didn't know who chose him, though. Nixon responded to an ad in the newspaper. That's how he got famous. They said, would you like to be a famous political person? Kind of like the way Ocasio-Cortez became known. Her brother responded to a newspaper ad. No different than Dick Nixon. Dick Nixon did the same thing. And they wanted somebody who was motivated to do what they wanted him to do. But when he found out he was working for these weird, bizarre people, Nixon's famous for speaking out about the Bohemian Grove. Yeah, his Bohemian Grove speech. He went there with Ronald Reagan, and it's pretty much laid it out in the line. I'll tell you what he said. He expounds on the welfare situation. You know that Dick Nixon actually wanted to create a basic income? I mean, he was actually not that bad before Watergate. He actually wanted to create a universal basic income. And you know, you can thank Dick Nixon for our cheese, believe it or not. And I didn't like Nixon. Believe me, I would never have wanted that. But in a clip from the 70s, Dick is heard saying this. Here we go.
I saw Joe Bob the other day. I was trying to tune into the damn baseball game, and NBC game went off. I saw Joe Bob the other day. I was trying to tune into the damn baseball game, and NBC game went off, and CBS came on with the movie. Had two magnificent, handsome guys and a stupid old fellow in it. They were glorifying homosexuality.
Is that a panel show? No.
No, it's a movie.
No, that's a regular show. It's on every week. And usually it's just set in the guy's home. And it's usually just that guy who's a hard hat.
That's right. He's a hard
And he always just looks like a slob.
Looks like a guy.
And then he has his hippie son-in-law.
Yeah.
And usually the general trend of it is to downgrade him and upgrade everything, make the square hard hat out to be bad.
What are they called? I've never seen Arnold's the guy's name.
Really? All in the Family he's talking about. That was just one of his quotes. He has another one on the Bohemian Grove. Yeah. Yeah, it's buried. It's gone. Yeah. They got rid of it. Here it is.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand? Yeah. You know what's happening in San Francisco. Just gone. It's clear over. I know that, but it isn't just down in the ratty part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd because it's just terrible. I mean, I never want to shake hands with anybody in San Francisco.
So he was reacting to the group of people that meet secretly, planning our world's future. The secret societies of the Bohemian Grove. And he didn't like these people. And they actually have meetings where they have cremation of care rituals where they could care less about human beings. They burn effigies in front of the owl. It's just the weirdest. It's a satanic Luciferian cabal, if you will. And when he got wind of this, he just said, and then they basically pulled his ticket. And he had to resign because they had enough surveillance over him to, in some way, insinuate that he was doing something. But by today's standards, after what Trump just pulled off, without any scrutiny except for the Democrats trying to impeach him and impeaching him, believe me, in retrospect, Nixon would have stayed through Watergate and, weathered the storm like Trump did. He probably would have survived. But he is gaining popularity while dead. Yeah, it's kind of ironic. I didn't like him. He was pro-war for Vietnam. But when you think about him standing up to the New World Order, he probably was the last one that did. As soon as Gerald Ford was put in play, and he was simply picked because he was the last congressman to sign the Warren report, which meant that they would no longer investigate JFK's murder. We know that many people killed JFK, not just a lone assassin. We know that now. I mean, even John Kerry openly admitted and said that he didn't think it was a one gunman situation. It was multiple gunmen. So Gerald Ford put that whole subject to rest when he signed it. And as payback to Gerald Ford, they gave him the vice presidency. And that was a turning point for Gerald Ford, who then just, remained our president until Jimmy Carter was elected in '76. And Jimmy Carter was a governor of Georgia, and everything seemed very nice about everything he says, and smiled a lot, and everyone liked a new leader that smiled. And he did talk to his lovely wife, Rosalind, publicly about the Playboy magazine, which he lusted after. But then along came Ronald Reagan. Well, yeah, Jimmy Carter was kind of a redneck from Georgia, but today he's a liberal. Right, he's against racism of any kind. But then came Ronald Reagan, who simply made a deal with the devil, basically, negotiated with terrorists and allowed Iran to get the weapons they wanted. And not even knowing what he was doing, he simply, go ahead and put a script in front of me and I'll read it. I'm sure that Don Regan can explain everything about this thing you're calling Iran-Contra. But Nancy and I don't know much about that. You see, he was basically a reader, a puppet reader, and he was chosen by the New World Order to be our president. Then they stuck the director of the CIA during JFK's assassination. They stuck him, the director of the CIA, during Nixon's period, and then during the Dallas attack, he was the director of the Dallas office, George H.W. Bush. And you're not going to believe this, but George H.W. Bush was a German Nazi. He actually served in the Luftwaffe. So they got a Nazi to run for president. You look up George H.W. Scherf and you'll find out some pretty interesting stuff about this guy. Covert politics, traced back to confessions of other Nazis from the era. Here's a really good link I just found. This shows the Scherf family, and George H.W. is in the middle of this place. He was a member of the Luftwaffe, and then he was adopted by Prescott Bush, who was money laundering for Adolf Hitler at the time. That was George H.W. when he was a Scherf. He was adopted as the son of Prescott Bush, who was the money launderer for Adolf Hitler. And away they went. And then they installed their own leaders, George W. as our president. Oh, they never left. The Nazis never left our government. I'm going to give you guys this link. It looks pretty good. Yeah. It talks about the origin of the Nazi movement in America. Check it out. Yeah, the new safer at home order in Los Angeles, no end date. Yeah, Los Angeles going into a lockdown for no reason. Our hospitals are empty. Our president is mute on the subject. He said, I shut it down, so they shut it down. They said, shut it down, so I shut it down. I mean, that's the most mindless thing a president could say, and now he won't even talk except to insult a Chinese woman who's asking a question from CBS. Wisconsin held up, it held up the Constitution. That's right. The stay-at-home order is unlawful and unenforceable. We're going to have to sue our local government, apparently, for any attempts to try to stop people from traveling who are COVID positive. You can't deny, there's no law that says you can suspend the Constitution. They're claiming that Donald Trump is using an Emergency Powers Act. You can't do that with the United States of America. You cannot use an Emergency Powers Act to shut down your Bill of Rights. You have to declare martial law. Until Donald Trump declares martial law, we are entitled to a right to assemble, right to bear arms, right to Fourth Amendment rights of privacy, your body, don't want to take a needle. Fifth Amendment rights, obviously, protecting your business and your personage, and no need to incriminate yourself, and all the other rights that we have to protect. So, yeah, they're saying the liberal governors and mayors are extending the lockdown, but at this point, Donald Trump is not exercising any authority. He's never even made any recommendations in telling the liberal governors that the federal government, will not allow him to breach the First or the Second Amendment. Donald Trump's not showing authority. That's my point. That's my message to all of you Trump-tards and Q-tards. I'm not going to sit back and ignore the fact the president is not showing leadership here. This is the most egregious act of non-leadership I've ever seen. You're making the problem worse by not recognizing that Trump is not leading on this issue. He never led. He just, they shut it down. They said shut it down. We just shut it down. He doesn't have the right to shut down our economy. You don't realize that. You keep clinging to Trump like he's some answer to your prayers. He's going to take you right to the gates of the FEMA camps, or he'll force inject you. By the time you're done, you Trump-tards will going, I thought the QAnon movement was going to stop everything. Trump hasn't done anything in 3 years. Do you think you Q-tards would wake up and realize that? He hasn't prosecuted Hillary. He gave up on prosecuting Barack Obama for the birth certificate issue. And you know full well that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. You know full well it was Mombasa, Kenya. So let's be real here. Your president has alienated all of you Q-tards. You don't have anybody that you could really rely on right now. I'm just telling it like it is. I invite you people to come join me. I know I've been very, very verbally offensive, but I wanted to get your attention. I want you to know that I'm not going to sit back and think that Donald Trump is going to save the day when he hasn't done a damn thing in 3 years. And plus, mind you, your Second Amendment, he is purposely neglecting your Second Amendment by allowing 5G to go untested. 5G is untested for safety. It could easily be weaponized and turned into a very dangerous weapon, theoretically. Now, unless he stands up against 5G, you people are lost if you think Trump is going to help you. I mean, he's already endorsed the 5G network big time. Well, the USA does have a president, Morpheus. You're wrong. The US, when Donald Trump signed away his position in Emergency Powers Act, the US does not have a president. He is still POTUS of the USA. You see, the U.S. has a contract with the United States government through the Act of 1871 to fulfill the duties of dealing with this crisis as the bearer of the responsibility of the United States citizenry. We have a co-duty. When we're born, we're citizens of the United States of America and of the de facto government called the United States, which was created in 1871. They're bonded to do everything that the USA requires. They can't fulfill their goal if they did. They'd be in breach of agreement. They have to fulfill our Constitution to bear our debt, because our Constitution is, by Black's legal definition, a debt agreement. So our debt prior with the United States of America was absorbed by the United States. So they're responsible and required to live up to the debt agreement called the U.S. Constitution, which has our Bill of Rights in it. Now, you're right about the U.S. He's no longer president of the United States. I agree with that. But in order for him to surrender his position as United States of America president, which is a different corporate entity, Donald Trump would have to declare martial law, and he can't do that. He hasn't been able to. Okay, we got a good, insane video about Bill Gates. Let's take a look. All right, so not to worry you, but your Bill of Rights are still in operation. They're still functional. Here's a great mask that somebody came up with. This is cool. We were trying to make masks on our website, and the Spreadshirt wouldn't allow us to print. We're still trying to get that to work. I'll try it again tonight. That's a good one. I like that one. Thank you. I'll put that on the screen. It's so good. Anyway, still use this as your toolkit. You're still United States citizens, and you can defend your country and yourself with your Second Amendment. That still stands. Don't think for a second that the New World Order tyranny is going to be implemented. I stand between it and our future. I assure you, if you can help me get to the White House, I will stop the New World Order from taking hold of this nation. They've got their hooks in us deep right now. Right now, we're sitting here with it's like we're in the clutches of a massive vulture, and the hooks are right in us, cutting into our vital organs. I'm serious. So use your toolkit, your Bill of Rights as your toolkit to defend yourself. And we still ask these questions. What is going on in our atmosphere? And no, don't tell me it's carbon that's causing weather changes in our world. It's just impossible to believe that carbon is the source of this when they've got all kinds of plans. We were looking at you know how California is drying out? Misanthropy brought this to our attention. California is drying out. They recently had all those terrible fires, which 300 started within a 24-hour period, and not one arsonist was charged, and lots of people died. Well, as they dehydrated California with weather modification and chemtrails, we've seen years of chemtrails spraying into the California coastline. They made it very right for aluminum distributed all along in here and barium aluminum to create a fire really quickly with electromagnetic frequencies. And they were able to actually destroy a lot of land that was used right underneath where their Monterey oil, shale oil, is located. Now this happens to be the area that was burned as well. It's also one of the areas that they really need to exploit. From their perspective, they need to make money on it. So the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds put together a team of, actually it's an entire consortium that's buying up water rights in here. They're literally buying up the water rights. They already own the oil rights throughout the whole area, the Rothschild family does. And they're going to try to mine this area and charge for every drop of water as they dehydrate it with aluminum and barium. Now when they set fires using directed energy weapons, everyone was like shocked this happened, and no one asked where are the arsonists. Not to this day, not one arsonist was arrested. Instead, PG&E took responsibility for the whole thing, mind you, and not one person served any time for all the dead people. They just said, oh yeah, we got a terrible problem. They'll absorb the cost, and then they'll raise the rates. So PG&E, which is also owned by the Rothschilds, is very interested in evacuating these areas and making sure they don't have anybody living there. So why not spray it until it dries out, right? If you haven't seen chemtrails, this is what it looks like in the middle of America. Check it out. This is 2 years,
Look at this nasty bullshit. Oh, I'm a mad son of a bitch today. Look at this shit. Does this look like a Wyoming sky to you people?
For example,
No.
there's more.
Hell no. Been spraying the living shit out of us this morning. I'm back.
That's Mike Decker. He does a lot of videotaping above his beautiful ranch out there in Wyoming, and I really like the fact that he takes good pictures, and he closes in on a lot of these planes. They are literally dumping across the country. Heavy metals are the reason why our weather is changing. Don't let Greta Thunberg fool you thinking it's your carbon that's causing it. It's not. There should be a law that says no one can own water. I agree, Final Dream. It's one of those irreplaceable resources that no one should ever own. Now, I've been pitching the idea of lots of fresh water. I even have the ocean pipeline idea, which I've talked about. I'll tell you about in just a second. Okay, second's up, I should tell you now. But no, seriously, this area is being groomed for mining of oil and also high-speed rail. They plan a high-speed rail. They want to mine the oil in that area. They burned out houses left and right. What happened was directed energy weapons are being used, theoretically, to go after us and hurt all of us. And if we think that that's not happening, we may want to think again. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little overwhelmed here. The ocean pipeline is a very simple plan that if we put it in the middle of California, would prevent a tremendous amount of problems with the dehydration that's going on. A 200-mile swash of this in a matrix formation would easily produce 50,000 gallons of fresh water a day. And this is all done without fossil fuel. It's a simple process of passive desalination where seawater enters this area and it automatically starts evaporating on the inside of the dome, and by the time it evaporates, dewdrops go down here and it gradually creates fresh water here. Seawater in the middle, fresh water over here. We then put this in storage areas, reclaiming the water for later and for using it by farmers and people for drinking and potable uses. The Ocean Pipeline Project could very easily power up all of California and provide the necessary solutions that we're all looking for. I'm not in any way worried about implementing it because it's going to be fairly simple to construct, and it won't take more than a group of about 50 guys at a time to develop this in the field. Yeah, it's a job for sure, and we'll be mass producing polycarbonate plastic domes which are tamper resistant, UV resistant, and have the ability to provide a tremendous amount of fresh water. We can also raise seawater fish like mollusks and clams in here. Seriously, we can actually have clam beds in here. This could all be lined with sand. The whole concept is much more complicated than this, but it's powered up by wind power and solar power, driving the water through the chambers of the modules. Each module is about 11 by 7 feet, 7 by 11, and they stack very comfortably on top of an 18-wheeler, and I could put about 50 domes on one 18-wheeler, bring it to a location and stretch it out. Black plastic is used down the middle as a liner, much like a pond. We tested the whole thing out and it works great. It produces at the very minimum 3 gallons a day. But we can get this thing to produce perhaps as much as 10 gallons a day using special filter systems. Yeah, 10 gallons is pretty good for desalination, passive desalination. So the simple concept made even simpler is just drop the black plastic in a hole that you dig. If you dig. Do you dig? You dig, man? I dig that hole, man. I dig it. So if you dig that hole, you create the vector down there. It goes all the way to the back, right? And then you run a pipe through the middle, and then the pipe would have holes in it, and it would collect all the salt, and you'd have a salt flush. And the salt, when it gets concentrated, would be flushed out, and we'd be able to use the salt too. Now, this whole concept would advance to even desalination as well as hydrolysis, and we'd be able to make liquid hydrogen out of some of the extra energy the solar and wind power systems are creating. Because they won't be used fully for moving water. They'll also move to a director to like a capacitor or a battery, where they'll be able to do more work with that energy. So we could actually create liquid hydrogen from the seawater as well as fresh water. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, this is not that difficult to construct. If you look at the technology that's been created over the many years, there have been great ideas that have all been stopped by the Rockefellers, the people that are now imposing their New World Order plan on us. Believe it or not, the Rockefellers have been trying to stop all kinds of things. You know that they started Standard Oil, right? And we had to break them up. They were never penalized for that. It was just a breakup, a monopoly breakup. But the Standard Oil Company had a great goals of controlling the entire oil industry. They never gave that up. They're still after a lot of that, and the Rockefellers are working on shale oil mining as well. They still own a big significant part of our oil industry. Standard Oil is still a very big company, really. I'm going to play a video about Bill Gates, who is one of their henchmen, who works for them, who does their bidding, who got his job because his dad knew the Rockefellers. Yeah, I'm going to play that for you. I did want to show you a couple of directed energy weapons, though. They're pretty intense to look at. Our country has the ability to set fires anywhere, anytime. That's the problem. Dave, show people how some random black guy was making water from the air. I could, but I don't need to show that because that takes more energy to create water from air. What I'm doing is creating passive desalination. It takes solar energy, a lot of solar output to create water from air, but it can be done. But the cost to make the solar panels, and the amount of environmental damage the solar panels do, you got to wonder, is that really environmentally safe and long lasting? I mean, I love the idea, desalination from water, but let me just show you briefly what the damage was to these terrible areas in California. I mean, this is just crazy. They literally leveled entire communities like Paradise, California, which had 26,000 people in it, but they claimed only 83 people died. They actually said 88 people died, and then they lowered the figure to 83 people. I don't know how 5 people magically came back to life, but this was a fire in Nice. No, it was actually Italy. I believe it was Italy. Yeah. Terrible fire. They have the ability to burn anywhere they want. Here's a dew fire right here. You don't have any time to react. I think this was the Italian one, yeah. They literally were burned in their cars. Now, the authorities want us to believe that these fires occurred naturally, car to car, fires moved, and all the trees remain perfectly intact. Oh, sorry, that's not possible. Yeah. That's not possible. Right here, for instance. Look at this. A veteran is providing clean water to Flint, says someone should damage his machine. Whoa. Yeah, this is technically...
They drain fuel.
Thank you for that link. This is technically impossible for a house to burn like this unless it was hit with a directed energy weapon. So that's something we have to really look at. Okay, here's the Bill Gates video that really shocked us. Thanks for waiting, guess at 5.5. I've seen this clip before, but it's really good. Video of Bill Gates releasing mosquitoes into an audience. Watch this.
Money put into baldness drugs than are put into malaria. Now, baldness it's a terrible thing. And rich men are afflicted. And so that's why that priority has been set. But malaria, even the million deaths a year caused by malaria greatly understate its impact. Over 200 million people at any one time are suffering from it. It means that you can't get the economies in these areas going because it holds things back so much. Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
Oh yeah.
Those mosquitoes are not infected. For example,
So those mosquitoes are not infected. So this is the example of a sociopath who likes to put people in a position where they don't have control. Yeah, he just releases mosquitoes into a large group of people, and they're not infected, he said. He likes that feeling of power. We know he does because he's openly talked about how he wants to, get rid of children. Whether it was a slip of tongue, I don't know. But here's the veteran providing clean water to Flint. They're harassing him. They don't want him to give clean water to Flint. So mind you, the Rockefellers have a very strong interest here. They are not going to give up the most expensive state in the Union, the richest state in the Union. And they're putting this plan together right now with Governor Newsom, the nephew of Nancy Pelosi. These people are working through channels, elitist channels, that they control these people with money. So our country is right now under a constitutional an illegal, unconstitutional shutdown. That's the best way I could describe it. And anybody who's doing good things, they're put out. They're not allowed to do it, like this guy.
They added something to the coolant lines. They played with electronics. And that's not typical vandal stuff.
Less than a week after bringing free water to Flint, Moses West says the green machine he designed to do just that was vandalized.
Once they broke into the machine and they destroyed the generator, very technical. They knew what they were doing. It wasn't just, random vandalism, not at all. They destroyed the battery. They put metal in the fuel system. I saw that when I was cleaning the fuel filter.
West is a military veteran who travels across the country to areas in crisis, bringing a machine he designed, like this one, that literally makes fresh water out of thin air. He put the green machine out for people along Saginaw Street on Thursday and was hoping to make a big impact. He says before the vandalism, they were giving hundreds of people free water every day.
You got to look at, I'm making anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 gallons of water a day. And giving away for free. That's a lot of money out of somebody's pocket someplace.
West says that he can only speculate as to why someone would try to destroy something that was just trying to help the community. West says he hopes to have the green machine back open and working again soon, with some anti-vandalism features added as well.
It actually sits in the air. I set it on the ground because the ground was a little bit unstable for it to sit on the legs, but now I've got all support for the legs. All 21,000 pounds, though, it'll sit up in the air and make it harder for people to get to do devious things to the machine.
In Flint, Rachel McCrary, WNEM TV5.
Man, I'd put a barbed wire fence around that thing. I can't even believe that. That's so unstable when it's off the ground like that. That's crazy. Did you see how it was moving? It was actually moving. You could see it was going to fall. That's crazy. I would not allow anyone near that. Putting a fence around it would have been better. Well, the government didn't get paid for the water, so they took out the machine. Exactly. Now, that's something I would have done. Barack Obama completely dropped the ball on Flint, and he laughed in front of the entire American people like he didn't even need to take care of the clean water problem in Flint. And Trump hasn't done a damn thing for them either. It's absolutely atrocious what we're watching with our two-party debacle of a government. Well, I tell you, I would have used a lot more ingenuity. That putting it out in 4 sticks is not safe. That's going to fall down, man. That's a disaster waiting to happen. You could see it was moving right when he walked by it. It's like, oh my gosh. What the hell is wrong with people? But I'm glad he's doing that. That's great. Okay. Well, needless to say, this plan of directed energy weapons that burned those houses that I believe should be investigated is one of the many tools that they have at their disposal. Weaponizing a 5G network would be the least of their problems. The biggest problems that the New World Order will have will not be creating a weapon like the 5G network. No, they've already accomplished that. They've already done what they had to do. They've got the backbone of the 5G network laid down. Our only shot right now is that we can make it safer. And that's what I'm proposing. Right. A 5G solution that will bring it in, reel it in, if you will. Limiters and all kinds of controls like Faraday shields that would prevent the 5G from hitting anyone. We have to measure the field radiation around all these things. I'm working on a video I'm going to be doing of my house and any levels of EMF levels that I'm dealing with, and building portable Faraday cages for our home out of aluminum screening material. And I'll be putting a video together about that this week, hopefully. Yeah. I'm checking meter levels and things and doing various aspects of home maintenance, making sure that my area where I am is safe from 5G. You can do things very cheaply in your home with standard ingredients. I'm not here to worry about taking notoriety for anything at this point. I'm the guy that they're stealing ideas from all the time, and I'm the most generous person of all. I don't try to make money off of this stuff. I'm not seeking personal gain in this world. Part of my plan in life is to do as much good as I can without costing a lot. Because if I'm not viable, you really do have a chance to fix this nation. And that's the only way I can be of any benefit to you, is if I can't be purchased or bought. If they see a guy who's greedy like Donald Trump, they'll walk all over that guy. They control him with puppet strings. Donald Trump has so many financial debts to the oligarchs, to the Chinese government, that he can't do a damn thing for himself. He can't even be a decent president. I just got a meter sent to me. I'm going to open up the package tonight. We're going to look at it, get the battery running. I'll be analyzing the levels of RF and any type of EMF as well. Right, if I was a materialist, you have commercials in between each show. Or in between each scene in the show, you'd be getting a commercial from some major corporation. I can't be that way. I made a decision to a vow of poverty, if you will, when I was young, and I realized that if I were to go down the other pathway at any time, it would be destructive to what my goals are in life. It's easy to take the money for a lot of people. I've been offered $300 million to stop what I'm doing. Not once, but twice in our show. I've never wanted to take a penny for what I do, but I do kind of take notice that I don't get donations. And it troubles me. I told Sarah, you know, our donations are so low that, I mean, we file almost out of ritual with the FEC, the Federal Election Commission. We're not in any way required in that we didn't meet the threshold. The threshold is $5,000 per year. We've never even gotten close to that. And it's interesting to note that the rich people control all the mainstream media outlets using money, but here they're being taken down by a person who doesn't use money to reach out on the internet and meet all the people I can through this medium that we're in right now. So in a way, this is a very powerful medium that they can't control. And that's what I've harnessed. Over the past 12 years, I realized that this is a great opportunity, that somebody's got to exploit this opportunity, and I'm doing it. And I really want to exploit the opportunity because it really pisses these people off. They can't monitor what you tell your friends about a third party. They can't say, oh yeah, how many people are talking about me? They have no idea. They also have no way of controlling the outcome of this kind of a free-for-all experience, this movement, if you will. They don't really know how to control this. They've been trying, and they give money to Mark to censor us, but I thought way past all that. The ascetic truth path, I like that. I am an ascetic, actually. I'm a very simple person. I live, like today, I made a frittata, a rice frittata. We had some excess egg beater stuff that was going bad, and I still have to continue eating it, but I said to Sarah, we got some organic rice that I picked up for very, very reasonable, and a beautiful cabbage and whatnot, and onions, and I threw it all together with some turkey bacon that was uncured, and it was really good quality, no nitrates, and it's just great. You know, it's a meal, and I think it costs like $3 for a big, huge meal that could feed 8 people. So I'm a very simple person. I don't require expensive things to feel good. I think the smallest donation was 5 cents. Somebody sent us a 5-cent donation. We don't take canned good donations, but I can tell you that the shipping cost alone would be not worth it for you. If you tried putting canned goods in a bulk shipping box, like a $17 bulk shipping box, it wouldn't be worth your time. It's like $18 for that, and plus the canned goods. It's not even worth the shipping. So your mother told you on the Verizon cell phone that they stated they gave you 5G for free. Okay, yeah, I imagine that 5G is going to seamlessly roll out, and we're not going to be able to stop it. The question will be is how much radiation, field radiation, and EMF, electromagnetic field radiation, are you getting from around the units that are in your house? And that's what I'm going to find out this week. I'm going to check the unit that I have a Faraday cage over and the bump unit that we put in. I'm going to test that out. Yeah, they've upgraded the whole system, and there's no turning back the 5G system. There are people saying, oh, you got to do something about this. I'm not going to recommend anyone hurt a 5G pole. No, in fact, I don't even believe the UK poles were set fire by people. I believe what they're doing is slowly raising the amperage of electricity. I believe they did that in New York recently, and they're now seeing people get a higher number of diseases in apartments. We know that radiation will lower your immune system. We know that for a fact. We have scientific evidence from epidemiologists that confirm that it actually causes DNA alterations in your body as well. Your red blood vessels don't work right. If you hold a cell phone next to your head, it's not the power of the cell phone that's bad, it's the pulsing. That's the part that really is bad. The pulsing is the poison. Yeah. I'm going to show you the picture that tells you what's really going on. This really typifies what's happening. The number of deaths per day in the world at the very top is from tuberculosis. The second number is hepatitis B, and then it goes on from there. Pneumonia is the third item. 2,216 people die a day of pneumonia, right there. HIV is 2,110. But coronavirus right now currently is at 56 people a day die of coronavirus. So why would we shut down our economy and take so many extreme precautions as to COVID test everybody when we haven't even resolved the tuberculosis crisis in our country, around the world, or the hepatitis B crisis around the world? It makes no sense. So John D. Rockefeller had a quote that is actually being used right now in this next attempt to commit genocide. John D. Rockefeller's quote was, I'll give you the specific quote. Here he was as a younger man. Don't be afraid to give the good to go for the great. Okay, that's not the quote I'm looking for. There it is. I always try to turn every disaster into an opportunity. John D. Rockefeller. So what they did with the this current live exercise they imposed upon our country right now is they created a disaster to create an opportunity to sell vaccines and to force vaccinations on people like they did 100 years ago when they killed 100 million people in the world. 100 years ago, 100 million people died because of tainted vaccines by the Rockefellers. So they're behind the Gates Foundation, we know that. And they're using the same theory, turn a great crisis or disaster into an opportunity. In this case, it's the virus crisis. And they created it. The virus, the vaccine is driving the crisis. Yeah, well, the people of Flint, voting for people isn't going to solve their problem. They need a rescue. Flint needs a full-on rescue. You need a federal government's going to have to come in and desalinate or clean the water for them. It's like desalination. It uses the same technology. One way or another, we have to use centrifugal technology to rapidly desalinate or to clean the toxins out of the water. Yeah, so this is really puts things in perspective. You realize that we're being played by this whole thing. The number of people with COVID deaths is so small that it's statistically insignificant. Yet you listen to them and you think, oh, the hospitals are full. Oh gosh. I challenge any one of you to go to your hospital and show me some busy activity. There's nothing going on. It's like they planned this out and they were planning on spraying the virus on all of us, and they failed. For a couple weeks there, I noticed that the air I was breathing smelled like something was going on in my lungs. It's not happening as much now as it was 3 weeks ago. But for 3 to 5 weeks ago of day 59, I was breathing an air that was almost like balmy and muggy and weird, and my lungs were reacting as if I had pneumonia. I started to feel weird congestion, so I would immediately go in and, seriously. No, my lungs are great, but I've battled pneumonia before, and I can tell you that there's something in the air that's not right. Now, we know from the VMAT2 studies that Pentagon did that they've developed a vaccine that they can spray aerially that actually suppress the VMAT2 gene in our brain. And you're wondering, what are you talking about? What's the VMAT2 gene? Well, the VMAT2 gene, along with the potential attenuated virus gene, the coronavirus gene, act to suppress certain aspects of our ability to respond and think, critical thinking ability. The VMAT2 gene was discussed over 15 years ago. And they found in the brain, the VMAT2 gene is the trigger for critical thinking. And if you realize, oh my gosh, something bad's happening, I better do something. That's your ability in the VMAT2 gene to respond. It's also an extremist thinking gene. And they discovered that through rat studies that they could suppress it in rats and control their behavior. It may be the reason why a lot of us are very, very apathetic, because we're being sprayed the VMAT2 gene right now. They're spraying attenuated viruses and airborne vaccines, if you will, on us. They didn't really plan on the virus dissipating, though. And what happens is the virus, when it's sprayed, is it breaks down in the sun and in the air, and known toxins that are around it break it down too. So it's like they failed in their attempt to aerially spray us. Now they're using falsified, misleading, and manipulated statistics to claim that COVID is just huge amount of people are getting COVID, blah, blah, blah. But you ask anybody, do you know anybody or heard anybody? And nobody knows anybody that's died of this directly that I know. Maybe some of you might, but it probably is falsely diagnosed, and it could have been your grandpa dying in a nursing home of something else. So I believe what they're doing now is, after not being able to fully implement the gene attack, or rather the vaccine attack on us, the aerial spray of vaccine, they're now going into phase 2 of trying to lie to us that we've got a really bad problem. And we have to stay closed because this COVID-2 testing or COVID-19 testing has to go on. Otherwise, it'll spread. And none of us could really go out unless we are fully tested. This is their reason and excuse to virtually destroy your rights, your freedoms, your First Amendment right to assembly. They definitely want to nullify this with the ability of a weapon much greater than any of your weapons that you may have. Your personal body, your privacy, your Fourth Amendment is being injected. And how can they justify that? There's no legitimate reason why they would justify forced vaccinations of the population. And there's no scientific reason either, because this virus is mutating in the RNA sequence, forcing us to believe that even if we did get a vaccine, it wouldn't work. And that's precisely what the laboratory tests have shown to be true. So believe me, my intelligence is far greater than Bill Gates or any of his team. And we can talk our way out of this one. But we have to get the word out that the Rockefellers are behind this New World Order takeover and they're trying to kill off people again. We've got to get the word out. If you can't do that because you're locked in your house, I would urge you to do whatever you can to get online and start spreading the word like I do. I post our website all over the internet now because they are heavily censoring me. They are. Okay, Ron's going to take off. Gates should test the chip and criminals themselves first, but the honest people will be abused. The criminals will be immunized and chipped. Yeah. Yeah, I want to get out of the state I'm in, but unfortunately for me, Sarah has a great job. So I can't exactly leave. I want to be with her, and I don't want to, leave the state just because they're being run by a bunch of socialist Nazis. Yeah, so this came in earlier. Misanthropy's repeating it for us. Mitch McConnell is pushing the Senate to pass a measure that would let the FBI collect America's web browsing history without a warrant. Unbelievable things coming out of Moscow, Mitch, working for the New World Order. I played this earlier. Yeah, thank you for reiterating that. Yeah, this is kind of the mindset that they're pushing on the American people as we cling in this belief that somehow there's a terrible disease even though our hospitals are empty. Remain terrified. Question nothing. Stay at home. See this? It's pretty funny. Well, if you can prove to me that people are really dying by showing me hospitals that are really traumatized and really busy, I would probably say, oh yeah, we've got a real big bad problem, but I'm more inclined to wear a mask because I don't want to breathe smart dust. I'm more inclined to question the 5G network because it hasn't been tested for safety. And I sure as hell have no idea what exactly is going on with the VMAT2 gene program the Pentagon did 15 years ago, where they figured out how to stop our most critical thinking ability. Thanks for letting me summate my position, and I'll let Sarah take over. This is exciting. Democrats against UN Agenda 21. This is it's a first. I haven't seen this in a while. This is almost equivalent to the Coffee Party. Remember the Coffee Party, the takeoff of the Tea Party? Democrats against UN Agenda 21. Yeah, I'm glad they're finally staking a stand. Yeah, that's good. Common Core is Agenda 21, yeah. They had to roll out Agenda 21 sooner than later, unfortunately for a lot of you people. Yeah, they couldn't wait because you were finding out about the secret societies too fast and the pedophile activities, including torturing children and using their adrenal glands to harvest adrenochrome. And you found out about Frazzle Drip. They never expected that. And then all you Republicans, all you want to do is talk about Anthony Weiner's laptop. They didn't want that to be like taken a look at. No, they don't want that. I want it. I care. But they don't want that to happen. So they had to roll out Agenda 21. That's a good thing for you because you still have weapons that you can defend yourself with against a dangerous takeover by your government. Yeah, they've already started. Yeah, they start already. I told you this would happen.
Negotiated by U.S. Trade Representative.
USMCA exposed towards the North American Union. Yeah, they're moving rapidly toward conglomerations and getting rid of the two-party system. That'll be a non-issue once they have established total control over our government. They'll be able to eliminate everything, including our political system. That's what's coming. Thank you. Don't worry. I'm going to put political cover-up. I don't have a place for the Democrats in my section. Yeah, Agenda 21. That covers a New World Order. I'll put it in New World Order. Okay. I'm adding sections on my flipboard. Yeah, so really, it's just a matter of them now trying to enforce their goal, which is bagging and tagging everybody, including sticking needles in you with RFID chips with the mark of the devil, as well as injecting luciferase in your vaccines when they come on. So now you just have to wait around until they come to your door with an armada of SWAT teams and try to take you down. So I think you got a plan. There you go. You didn't want to join the third party and get behind us, so you just wanted to sit here and watch the whole time. So, hey, you get what you deserve, I guess. The strategy in the response of the COVID-19 is to fake you out into believing there's a major problem by rigging statistics. Testing our society, Swedish government's having to present a range of problems. They're going to come up with the same solution, mass testing and COVID IDing. You know the Swedish government's going to do whatever they're told by the New World Order. So as much as the Swedish government was the right thing to do to keep their government going and their economy going, in the end, they'll cave in and they'll take the chip as well. Now, the New World Order controls Sweden and Norway and Germany and England and France. They already control most of the Middle Eastern countries. There are a couple holdouts like Syria and Iran, but Yemen is now under their control. Now that Barack Obama had Arab Spring, they now control Yemen. General Selassie, or President Selassie, was deposed, so he stood in the way of the New World Order. They took over Libya. They've got Libya under their control. It's mostly a ragtag group of terrorists they funded, but whatever. They seized the assets of Muammar Gaddafi, so they've got that money. They pulled right in. Eric, I didn't ban Eric, no. So they've got all these things, and they've got the controls in mind, but they don't really have you under control. They really want Americans under control. They know that the Second Amendment is really a stickler for them. It keeps them from actually going door to door and hurting you without taking in crossfire. So as you sit and wait and do nothing, as the president does the unspeakable, continues to keep our economy shut down, we sit here like scared little rabbits while they're installing the 5G network in our local neighborhood. Yeah. Isn't that nice? Which could be weaponized. Now today I brought up some pretty interesting things about the Rockefeller family and how they've actually concealed their children. They got fake identities for every one of them. And I'm really thankful I got this from Voodoo the other day. Thank you, Voodoo. Yeah, you're awesome. I don't know where you dragged up this picture, but I added the other pictures like Mark's face and Jacob Applebaum's face, the guy who runs Tor. This is the Tor server guy. So if you think you're anonymous on Tor, think it again. It was a fusion project between the Navy and the FBI, as is DuckDuckGo, as is the name DuckDuckGo. Yeah, that's all Navy related. And then you've got Edward Snowden, the disinformation artist that was put in play to mix everything up. He told us that we're being watched. He was one of the first to release the information about us being watched, and that they have tools that can actually manipulate us and watch our Skype systems and listen in on our private conversations. They needed to deliver that, so they needed a guy like Edward Snowden. He's the Edward something or Eric Greenberg. He's the grandson of David Rockefeller. David, how come Sarah doesn't know about New World Order? Don't you want to protect her? Oh, I explained to her all the things I've done in the show. Don't worry. Yeah. She's chosen to not actually pursue this type of discussion. She doesn't believe in it. I know that's difficult for a lot of you to understand, but everyone has a right to their own free will, and I respect her decision to not open her mind to the possibility that somebody's actually doing bad things. And frankly, all this is getting confusing. So it'd be so much easier if we could just get rid of that, right? And even that's confusing, you know? Let's put Times Square here. It might be better. Tor server is the thing that the people have been using to do internet searches thinking they're in private when they've been watched the whole time. That's the irony of the whole thing. Yeah. And you people who have VPNs, you think that the government doesn't have the money to buy up your VPNs? I'm on a VPN that the government doesn't own, but I had to really search to find it. It took me a while. Yeah. It wasn't exactly easy. But what our government's doing is essentially caving into the powerful moneyed interests that control them. The one good thing is you have a great opportunity to actually vote out the two-party system. But being here in our chat room isn't enough. We actually have to go out of our little loop and go to other places and promote what we're doing. Otherwise, with all the censorship that's going on, we'll never get our message out. It just never gets out. Word of mouth helps. I appreciate that. That's really making a difference. But I actually have to go to websites like the coronavirus website, and I'll show you what I do around this time of the evening. As a rule, I just go to the coronavirus pandemic site that John Hopkins put out, or somebody copied it and made a chat room out of it. Green Acres is the place for me. If I live in, this is the place. Okay, so we're going to go there. This is pretty much a ghost town right now, and nobody's in here. And the number of COVID cases is actually identical to the number of natural deaths that occur. And there are no natural deaths occurring now, just COVID deaths. So everyone's dying of COVID based on their statistical bad analysis. But when I go into these shows, I see a very slow chat room, and I'm going, yeah, that's a good chance for me to actually post something and be seen. So as soon as I see that, I get my test results going here, and here's like one of my ideas. I write in the chat room, I put out, you could say vote for America's Third Party, it wouldn't matter, .com. But this is a Rockefeller plan. They killed 100 million in 1918 with deadly vaccines. And then I put my posted information. And then I wait for the numbers to kick in. I think I got one person after a worldwide posting last night. How many people were here when they saw us on the worldwide posting, I wonder, at DLive and came back? I doubt anybody. So we're having problems getting people into our DLive show. I just saw 4 people enter just now. Isn't that weird? Look at that. It went from 5 to 9 within 1 second. See, there's something going on over there. Well, let's be clear. So you can do this on any internet chat room on YouTube. I can't tell you the name of my VPN because that would reveal the source to my big people. Oh, Big Male Guy just said something. Convincing people not to have kids is more effective than killing them. Tell me about it. But they're not, I'm telling you, they don't have the time for that anymore. They wanted to roll out Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 very slowly, but they had to push it up to Agenda 2020. The reason is they're running out of time. The internet's opening up doors and showing how corrupt these people are and how they are killing children and literally eating them. I hope that doesn't disturb you too much, because I try to talk about it in a way that doesn't make it seem too overwhelming. But yeah, they're actually eating the children. the agendas that they have essentially are Agenda 21 is to effectively take over the entire system of every nation and erase our borders, and push a policy of cap and trade legislation, which is carbon point legislation, which is ridiculous taxation, not actually fix the problem. In fact, they're the ones that are spraying us every day with chemicals, because they're the ones trying to create the need for Agenda 21. But Agenda 2030 is more ominous. It involves a complete COVID IDing of the entire population, as well as bag and tagging, chipping everybody with the mark of the devil. And these people are Luciferians, folks. They're not. I'm not kidding. This is not some mild issue you should just ignore. They're using all of these tools too at their disposal, because you never bother to get your officials to say, hey, could you please test these for safety? So they're using these tools as well to implement their plan. Please allow me to introduce yourself to the man. The devil is in this group. They believe they're incarnate of the devil. There is no devil. There's no Lucifer. That's all just a fictitious thought. It's just a psychotic theory that these people have assigned themselves to, and they believe that by doing this and worshiping dark forces, they have more power. So they've installed certain things that are in our diet that are not good for us, like genetically modified food, which allow us to weaken our immune system. They've got a huge problem with the vaccination issue, where they're pitching some pretty bad stuff. Luciferase, which is a type of product that will be in the vaccines, is a tracing product, which is a bioluminescent product that will somehow go in the injection, and they'll be able to see it in our body. They'll have tools to see it. They want to make sure they know where everyone is and that everyone is in compliance. Otherwise, they'll terminate us, and there'll be a tool to integrate with the 5G network, they say, that will essentially activate the luciferase in us, which would automatically kill us. And they're probably able to do that without activating the luciferase. They can ionize the air in front of us with the 5G and kill us that way. But yeah, they've got this going for them, which is what they're doing. They put together HR 66666, which I'm serious is real. They have HR 66666, which is another thing that makes you wonder, are these people evil? And the answer is yeah, they're completely evil. I can't tell you how messed up this is. Now, you might think this is some sort of a coincidence, and I understand that some people believe it's just a coincidence. I know, isn't this terrible? It is dramatic. I know, and you never think this would be happening. This is more like a horror movie, right? It's like a fictionalized horror movie. Yeah. Who would ever think that would be happening in their world? Imagine having to wear a mask wherever you go, even though there's no major outbreak. Yeah, asynchronous. It's actually an asymmetric attack on our country and our people. What a great phrase. Yeah, thank you. It's an asymmetric attack, and I know this is a joke to you, because I feel sorry for you in that you think this is a joke, because someday you'll be eating your words. But the asymmetric attack is done against a country by all sides. And if we think that this is not an attack, we have to wonder, well, why are our hospitals empty and we're still waiting around wondering when we can be released from this hostage situation? And now our police are asked, after releasing common criminals in the streets of LA, San Diego, New York, all around the country, our police chiefs are now questioning why they have to implement a plan to arrest common people that violate social distancing laws. So they just released a whole bunch of criminals, violent criminals, and we're encountering absurd regulations against gathering in public places. Now, today there was a big, huge gathering in one country outside of a Waffle House, and I played that for everybody in the morning. Meanwhile, the government's putting on some sort of a diversion activity. I don't know what happened here, but armed black militia were standing outside of the guy who allegedly shot Ahmaud Arbery's house, and the police just stood down. I don't know whether this was a planned attack, or it wasn't a media event. I don't think it went to the mainstream media. These black militant groups, militia, gathered outside of a... see, this looks like Blackwater to me, not blacks. This doesn't look like a guerrilla operation. This looks like Blackwater itself, hiring a bunch of black guys doing like a standard op. Mercenaries. But I almost think this was a photo event. And the police are in the background and they're not doing anything. This didn't go viral though, so I'm wondering why this even happened. I'm finding it hard to believe, actually. See the cops in the background, they won't approach this. And I don't know what happened after this, but this was a link that Insane Canadian gave us that was pretty edgy. Thanks for the donation, big email guy. Anyway, Agenda 21, look it up, and Agenda 2030 is a global New World Order government operation designed to take away our country and leave us with a shell of a nation. Well, technically it is legal to walk around with an open carry of your firearm, and in Michigan they just did it. They're not going to be able to stop that from happening. That's my point. Agenda 21 rolled out way too soon. They made a mistake. They're so worried about getting caught eating children that they are trying to stop us from actually growing as a nation right now. We're on the verge of breaking open a cult of child abductors around the globe. Human trafficking is so omnipresent. They say it's 25 million people are human trafficked every day. And of that, only 11,000 are arrested here in the U.S. 25 million in the U.S. and only 11,000 are arrested every year. So there's a big human trafficking operation going on in the U.S. and children are being abducted here and in UK and all over the world, and our government turns a blind eye to it. Yeah. The CIA is actually, and the FBI actually turn a blind eye to what's happening. That's how powerful these rich people are. Well, I'm just saying, you have the right to bear arms, and if a lot of you never tuned into that idea, I don't understand why not, but you could have. You have the right to bear arms, and even in California you can apply for a permit. The thing is, guys, these people are laughing in our face. They got their government shill, Bill Gates, to do all the bidding. Bill Gates, like I said, stole an operating system to become rich and famous. His parents, his father, is close friends with David Rockefeller. And you're looking at a guy literally crack up.
How slow and how fitful this is. Like a long time to recover. It's going to be, people are going to be surprised at how slow and how fitful this is. Like a long time to recover. It's going to be,
you can actually hear him going,
long time to recover. It's going to be, a long time to recover. It's going to be,
He's evil. He's as evil as it gets, man. Yeah, someone is raped every 75 seconds in America. A child is kidnapped every 40 seconds. I mean, we're not getting any results from our two-party system in the FBI. I have to laugh at you Q-tards. You think the FBI is going to be revealed and all the things that they did for Obama are going to come out soon. Hardly. Believe me, they're well protected. That's why Trump has never prosecuted one person in the deep state. And you people still think that he's going to do that. It's just so funny. How could you people be that stupid? Apparently you are. Well, yeah, Bill Gates wanted to he was a big gun control guy, always was. Bill Gates wanted to disarm us before he started sticking us with the needles, so they're running out there kind of loose. They know that Bill Gates' time on Jeffrey Epstein is going to be a liability to them. Their lead guy has got all kinds of possible connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And we're still uncovering that right now. Last night, I did some pretty good investigative work of my own. Here, let me congratulate all of you on getting through the... Guess who's living through the biggest psychological operation in the history of mankind? You. Congratulations. Yeah, you're doing great. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Yeah. But Bill Gates' connection to Jeffrey Epstein is going to be a big liability for them because there's bound to be some more information that'll pop up. It's been a very secret relationship he's had. He's been over there mostly on his jet, and he didn't really have to use Jeffrey's jet. Jeffrey's still alive. They got him out of that jail at Metropolitan Correctional Center and then covered the whole thing up. James Comey's daughter was a prosecutor in this case, and she lost the videotape of him leaving the jail. Otherwise, we'd prove to you that he was taken out and put in a van that morning. But he got out, and he's living out there alone. If you want to go check out, the link to it, I'll show you how to get there. You can show everybody in your family that he's still alive. I'm going to take you to our website, coolrock.com. And you can find our link page now in the page. You just go to coolrock.com. Fun and free place to hang out. I've got lots of fun stuff to do with here. It's all free. You can click the Flipboard link right here, and that takes you to our magazine page. And the magazine page then takes you to the Jeffrey Epstein page right here. You can also go to the Gates page up above, but I'm going to go to the Epstein page. And lo and behold, you'll see that Jeffrey Epstein is alive. This was taken recently. He did a little work on his face. I'll show you his most recent picture. There it is. This takes you to the website. Yeah, he's been completely protected by his CIA contacts and the FBI contacts that have basically given him cover. The FBI and the CIA have been working for the global elitists, the New World Order, for some time. We're literally on our last stand as people. If we can't convince more and more people of what we need to do to expose this corruption and evil, then we're not going to be able to stop these people. I'm just saying that we're on our last leg. You've had 12 years to jump on board this third-party ship, and you refused. For some reason, maybe it's the VMAT2 gene that's been put out there. I don't know. But you've been pretty much hesitant, and your votes for Republican Q-tard stuff is really not taking you anywhere. That's just a waste of your time. And same with you Democrats who continue to vote for Biden. You're wasting your time. He'll never stop these people. He is owned by these people. Neither Trump nor Biden will say that they will not force vaccinate you. I will not force vaccinate you. I will never force vaccinate you. Yeah. So the DNI, Grinnell, there's names of Obama officials who requested unmasking of NSA reports. I don't know what you Republicans are all pissed off about. That's what a president does. I don't even understand why you're looking up that, turning over that rock. It's not going to amount to anything. Yeah, Trump's never going to prosecute these people, ever. Mark my words, he'll never prosecute anything. He dropped the birther issue like a lead balloon. Come here. Here you go. I got a kitty cat I got to take care of here. There we go. So, there he was in New York. The person who posted the photo claimed to be very scared. He wanted advice on how to get this reported, but without being personally identified. Wouldn't say where the picture was taken. It could be false, but it's strange the picture is not on the web anywhere else. One thing is for certain, the photo looks more like Epstein than the body bag photo that was circulating. This one right here. Now this was only identified by his brother Mark, and we know Mark would have an incentive to lie because he collected $578 million as a beneficiary. And he worked out the details with Jeffrey 2 days before Jeffrey got out alive. It was so funny. But yeah, good luck with your pursuit of the FBI's and all the incorrect protocol that Obama engaged in when he was trying to protect our country from Russian involvement. And continue going down that BS line that Donald Trump had nothing to do with Russian oligarchs. Yeah, continue wasting another year of our time while we continue to be taken over and held hostage in an economy that's shut down for no reason. feel free, all of you Q-tards, just go on that merry way of wasting our time and diverting our attention to some nonsensical issue, just like you did when you tried to get the Harvey Weinstein tapes, or rather the Anthony Weiner laptop exposed. Thank you for trying, but it's never going to be exposed. The government will never release the Harvey Weinstein, the Anthony Weiner case. It'll never ever be released. The photographs that were taken ended up causing 5 guys in New York PD were killed because of them. They were going to expose it. They had seen the frazzle drip pictures of Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin and the tortured child, allegedly. And they had revealed it to their commanding officers. So what happens is the commanding officer and the investigating homicide detective both ended up killing themselves within a day of each other. Why? In fact, the chief in charge was going to retire the next week with a full pension in New York. Why would he kill himself? So everything points to cover-up after cover-up. The cover-up at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, what James Comey's daughter did, getting rid of the videotape of the entire exit strategy as he got into the van and got out of there. You're so deep into a corrupt world right now with corrupt people running our government that if you actually think you're going to vote for either Joe Biden or Donald Trump this year, it's of no avail. You're wasting your time. They'll never ever stop what's coming. I will. I will stop it, and I will go after the people who perpetrated this act of war against our country. I'm not done. I really believe that there's absolute treason going on. I know a lot of you Republicans are mindlessly duped into thinking Donald is telling you the truth, but he's not. Donald has been an absolute inept idiot through this whole process, typified by his most recent encounter with a Chinese reporter out in front of the White House. I mean, it's beyond belief how out of it this guy is. He's behaving like a complete and utter buffoon, and you think he's the greatest president on earth. It's funny.
U.S. is doing far better than any other country when it comes to testing.
Yes.
Why does that matter? Why is this a global competition to you if everyday Americans are still losing their lives and we're still seeing more cases every day?
Well, they're losing their lives everywhere in the world. And maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer. Yes, behind you, please.
Sir, why are you saying that to me specifically?
I'm telling you, I'm not saying it specifically to anybody. I'm saying it to anybody that would ask a nasty question like that.
That's not a nasty
question. Please go ahead.
Why does it matter?
Okay, anybody else? Please, go ahead in the back, please.
I have 2 questions.
No, it's okay.
But you pointed to me. I have 2 questions, Mr. President.
Next, please.
But you called on me.
I did, and you didn't respond, and now I'm calling on
Sorry, I just
the young lady in the back, please.
I just wanted to let my colleague finish,
Okay.
but can I ask you
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, meet the new boss, Mr. Incompetent Adolf Hitler wannabe. Donald Trump doesn't have the brains to be like Hitler. He doesn't. He calls himself a stable genius, yet there's not one IQ report out there in print on what he is. You've been buffaloed into believing that he's stopping the deep state when he is the deep state. He represents the deep state. They own him. How can you not see that? It is real. Can you not see that? Yeah, this is how you get kicked out of a press conference and blacklisted for being Chinese descent. Not a Chinese operative. No, it's just a common woman asking a simple question. He can't handle the truth. Yeah, Trump did say that. No, Trump did not say, well, there would be no need for the vaccine because the virus will go away. Well, he did say that. I will agree with you there. But let me show you what else he said. Yeah, I don't mind playing the video because it tells you exactly what he said. Watch this. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, let's get the full picture here. Hang on. I've got to give my cat some attention first. She needs a pet every hour or so. Watch this.
Well, I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go.
Okay, he feels about vaccines like he feels about tests. He's already said we need tests, lots of tests. That means he feels he needs vaccines, lots of vaccines. Okay? That tells you right there. And then he goes on to say that he doesn't think this will need a vaccine. Just like he said we wouldn't be wearing masks either.
Go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and we're not going to.
His word is meaningless. He's a man of a lot of words and no action. He said we wouldn't even be seeing a growth in an infection, and he's letting Dr. Fauci take false statistics and manipulate him.
See it again, hopefully, after a period of time. You may have some flare-ups, and I guess, I would expect that.
China's not taking over, Eric. Or Final Dream. China's not taking over, no. This is a New World Order takeover. They own China. That's why we were building the legislation for COVID-19 a year in advance of this. China's not to blame except for aiding the New World Order. Same with Russia. You can believe all you want that China's trying to take us over, but that's just a false paradigm. What's really happening is the New World Order is controlling China and Russia and the U.S. And it's being driven by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm convinced 100% that this is what's happening. So he feels the same way about vaccines as he does about tests. He said so. He wants lots of tests. There's always a virus spreading across human populations. No, it's not a hoax or fabrication. No, not at all. I told you from the beginning, this is 10% bioweapon. And again, Trump won't even admit this is man-made and has the same markers of AIDS, the same DNA markers that AIDS has. You can't create a vaccine for it. When Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci tried, they failed and killed a lot of veterans. A lot of veterans suffered under those two people, Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. They tried to create a vaccine, but this DNA, the DNA of the virus has shared DNA with AIDS. That doesn't mean you get AIDS when you get the virus, but one woman, Dr. Judy Mikovits, exposed the possibilities that these viruses were in the blood supply. These AIDS-type viruses. And she was immediately attacked by Dr. Fauci, who then ordered a subpoena, actually did a complete search of her house without a legal precedent, took items, implanted items in her house and took items out, destroyed evidence that she had worked on for decades. She found that 28 million vaccines were tainted with cancer-causing viruses. Okay, in lieu of that, and the fact that Fauci was instrumental in trying to destroy this woman, and now that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has gone out of his way to expose this, we're sitting on a golden opportunity to overtake the two-party system. This has never been a better opportunity for a third party. We just have to convince enough people this is what has to be done. There is definitely a SARS-2 virus that mated with another SARS-2 virus. It's one of them is called the KM SARS-2, and which is the S curve, the S chain, the RNA messenger S chain, and it mated with the KY virus variation of the SARS-2 bat virus. The KY and the KM formed the KF. The KY was the endonucleus, which has about 23,000 DNA chains in it. The S curve or S chain, which is the RNA, has about 12,000. And they piece them together to create the one virus, which is double dose of two bad viruses. And they share the same AIDS markers. This does not occur naturally. It had to have been manipulated. Originally, they occurred naturally in the bat population. Then they were manipulated by a scientist who then pushed it into the world as a bioweapon. Is it extremely bad? No, it's not. In fact, it's only got a 0.1% death rate. But they're using all the fear tactics they can to manipulate the statistics and create an environment that is absolutely perfect for their plan to roll out. Their COVID ID testing, they're forcing the population to wear masks, treating us like slaves. They're using this agenda to manipulate our freedoms and destroy our country as we know it. This is part of the asymmetric attack perpetrated by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. This is a New World Order takeover of our country, and we have one option, a third party. You don't have any other options. Sorry. You can vote to Republican, Democrat. You're going to lose your life. They'll be bagging and tagging people and sending them to FEMA camps, just like they did the Jews during the concentration camp. This is essentially a reboot of what they did during the World War II. And on top of that, they're trying to reset the ecosystem too. Our beautiful Mother Earth. They're trying to kill it off as much as possible, including us, so that they can magically arise from the ashes as a phoenix and a brand new world. That's what they believe is their destiny. I'm here to stop that. My purpose is to stop that, because that's wrong. That's not the wish of God in our future, for us to be all bagged and tagged and walking around like robots. That's not the wish of our God. That's quite opposite of that. It's evil. It's people worshiping dark forces in their mind. I'm not even acknowledging dark forces. These people are just evil, and they want justification for their actions. They'll do anything they can to maintain that control. And right now, with the pedophile rings being broken up and revealed on the internet, they know that they have to do this now, or their whole world will come crashing down. Well, they blew it, because they didn't expect their aerial-borne vaccinations to have the minimal effect that it's had. All their hospitals were waiting for people to drop, but hasn't dropped yet. So now what they're doing is they're raising the dial on radiation, slowly pushing their agenda that way. It's not going to work. People are incredibly resilient. If they raise that radiation level too high, it'll kill off their police forces too. They won't be able to have police force to implement their plan. Much like the taxes that we're not paying because no one's working are not going to fund the local sheriff and fire departments soon. So they're corrupting the very balance of our economy by getting a president that just shut it down for no reason. Completely oblivious to the reality that he was being used and manipulated, because Donald Trump has one thing on his mind: personal gain. That's all he cares about. Personal gain. You just throw a carrot in front of his head with $1 billion and he'll just follow that right down the road like a bunny rabbit. So whatever he promises you about a vaccine not happening, it's the same thing he promised you about not having to wear masks.
Sometime in the fall, you'll have flare-ups, maybe. Maybe not, but according to what a lot of people say, you probably will. We'll be able to put them out. You may have some flare-ups next year, but eventually it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone. You know, there are some viruses and flus that came and they went for a vaccine. They never found the vaccine and they've disappeared.
I don't know one virus that's ever disappeared. Yeah, this guy who's been firing people for his entire 43 years as president, fired 45 people, can't seem to bring himself to firing Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci? Seriously? So come on, you Q-tards, wake up. Get your head out of the CIA's bullshit Q announcements and come on into our show and really understand the source of what's happening, because we've been leading on these issues. Q-tards just come in and they modify it so it looks like Trump's doing a good thing. Trump stole 15 of my ideas in the 2016 election and continues to act like he's got original ideas when he's simply stealing them from me. Now, his wishy-washy position on the vaccines, you know he supports it as much as the testing. He supports the testing. Wake up. He supports the vaccines too. Wake up.
About vaccines like I feel about tests. This is all about vaccines like I feel about tests.
He's a liar, and he's caught in his lies every time. How much more clear does he have to be? You know, this is great. We've got Crystal Tini coming up in about 15 minutes. Thank you. Misanthropy brought Crystal Tini into the show. She's an activist in Los Angeles but who's been listening to this whole thing, and she just says, forget it. I don't buy it. And she's doing a great job exposing the story, and we're going to give her some more press time here. Yeah. She interviewed a doctor who contests the traditional plan right now, and she's doing a lot of good work. So we'll play her video today. Thank you for that. 14-minute video from Crystal Tini coming up. Her name is Crystal Tini on Instagram. If you happen to have an Instagram account, look her up. It's Krystal Tini, Tini. Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on that we just don't really have a clue as to what's happening, except to assess the fact that they're pushing the agenda. None of us are to blame for any of this. None of you are to blame.
Wow, look at that!
It's almost like you're being molested, and you're not to blame for being molested. That's how it feels to be living in America or the world right now and watching the New World Order take over your rights. And here you thought you had rights. Yeah. Well, she does a great job with her makeup and her hair. I think she's a great example of how a woman can, present herself. She has a boyfriend, and she's very happy living in Hollywood, I guess, or L.A. or something. She's a working actress. Krystal Tini is. Yeah, so this is police brutality. Okay, let's take a look at police brutality, German supermarket style. Oh, this was something I saw earlier today. Actually, this is an enlarged version of this. Wow. Mainstream media equals more serious manipulation. Yeah, there was a big scuffle in a market. A couple of Eastern Europeans were in a market, and they ran into a scuffle with police officers over simply not wearing a mask.
PK just posted it, and I'm not going to play it here. You can go see it on his channel, but basically we see an attack, and what we clearly see is a cop throwing the first punch. Now, I don't speak German, and I wanted to try to find, perhaps another version that might have translation or something. So the first thing I did that I want to do with you here live is I searched, how do you say German police officers attack men in supermarkets? So once I got that, so I searched with that translation, and I've got two versions of it. Cool. So this is the first one that I clicked, the short one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the short one earlier. Okay, so we'll be looking at that tonight. Thank you for that link. Yeah, basically a bunch of people were charged, they were hauled out, taken to the police station, charged with a crime. They've been released. They apparently retaliated, broke at the nose of a cop in Germany. They've been released, and they'll be facing trial. And there's more awakening going on. More police officers standing up. The Oath Keepers are standing up.
My name is Michael Cini. I wanted to make...
the most recent case of a guy standing up for the Constitution, a police officer here in Seattle, got a lot of airtime. You speak German? Well, you'll like that then, Greek god. I understand a little German, but I'm not conversational. So Rinderpest, poliomyelitis. Polio is not a virus that I can identify. No. It looks exactly like exosomes when a body is hit with toxins near the nervous system. Yeah, poliomyelitis is a symptom set. It's not a virus. Let me look at smallpox to see if there's any instances of smallpox left in the world. Okay, currently there's no evidence of naturally occurring smallpox transmission anywhere in the world. But small quantities of smallpox virus officially still exist in 2 research laboratories in Atlanta and Georgia and Russia. So technically you're wrong. Smallpox does exist in these research laboratories. So I'm afraid you're sorry. Sorry to say you're wrong. Yeah, you're an idiot. Go away. Come up with a virus that no longer exists, and I'll be glad to give you the brownie button. Moron. How should Trump have responded to that question? I would have said that the COVID testing was inaccurate. I would have told the American people that so far we're getting an 80% false positive on COVID testing. So the entire Q-tip test really cannot be issued for anyone without, number one, jeopardizing your safety, your immunity as an individual. We can't authorize it. I would have stepped up and told Fauci that we couldn't possibly give him the allowance of giving Q-tip tests to people when it's totally unscientific. There's an 80% false positive rate. The PCR test has been proven to be false. When the president of Tanzania announced that the inside of a papaya fruit had tested COVID-19 positive, that should have been your first sign right there. Because you don't know exactly what you can trust now, because your president can't seem to tell you what's trustworthy, then you have to assume that the lies that keep coming are just lies to cover up the lies. Like when he said he had 1 million test kits in the field, he turned to Mike Pence and said, "Isn't that right, Mike? Oh, we have 4 million? We have 4 million test kits ready to go." He didn't say the test kits are Q-tips that go into a toaster. A couple days later, he said that they have a certain process. We have to put it in an electrical thing and check it out. He didn't say it takes 7 hours for each one. So technically, it's impossible mathematically for the toasters that are out there to check the number of Q-tips that they say they've tested 250,000 in the past 2 weeks. And that we're rolling out 1 million now. He's lying through his teeth about everything. I would have said flat out to that woman that our tests are not accurate, that we're getting 80% false positives. And that's been a problem from the very get-go. But I would not restrict any of your movements, and I would never shut our economy down. That was a disaster. We are literally destroying our lifeblood, and you people are going, well, it's better to be safe than sorry. Even I said it at the beginning. I said, sure, okay, let's do a shutdown for about 21 days. I said that. But let's eliminate all travel from other countries like overseas. And then 3 weeks later, or 4 weeks later, Trump said, oh, I'm going to stop all travel from Wuhan. This is 4 or 5 weeks after I said we needed to stop all travel, not just from Wuhan. What did Trump do? He still let planes in from other countries. And we tracked him all the time. In the past 59 days, we've been tracking planes coming in. That's great, Connect Joy. I'm glad you feel good being gay. It doesn't really matter to me, though, what you are. Good for you. Let's take a look at flight radar. Okay, so we're going to look at planes coming into the country right now from overseas and see what's coming in. Cargo. DHL, good. FedEx, good. Hawaiian Airlines, Honolulu, Seattle, that's fine. Korean Air, Atlanta. So people are flying from South Korea to Atlanta. That's not legal. They're not legally allowed to do that. Passenger plane. Boeing 77 Korean Air, another passenger plane full of people heading to Dallas. Japan Airlines, Tokyo, Dreamliner 787-9, all three of these planes right here are filled with people. Over 600 souls are en route, many of which are infected. On Korean Air, there's 4 right here in this cluster. All planes, 800 people are flying into our U.S. airspace, potentially infected. Seriously. Need I go into detail? This is a cluster of 4 planes, all of which are carrying potentially infected people into our country. Folks, they don't care about us staying in a house. They don't even believe there's a virus. Most of the people in government take their face masks off after their photo ops. Yeah, it was only until yesterday that Pence finally put a face mask on. I don't think it's that infectious. I don't personally think we would need a travel ban at this point. I would have relaxed all travel bans completely, realizing there's no major problem. But Trump still has these planes coming in. You can see it. He didn't stop planes in this country. The sooner we get infected, the better off they are with their agenda. Tokyo to San Francisco. That's United Airlines. Japan heading out with full of people. Tokyo to LA, that's cargo. Osaka to Anchorage, cargo. I got one passenger plane. United San Francisco, Seoul. Yeah, that's definitely a passenger plane, and there's one right next to it flying beneath it. Seoul to San Francisco, that one is Taipei to LAX. That's cargo. So this is a passenger plane, United Airlines passenger plane from Seoul to San Francisco. Cargo. Kalita Air, I don't know what that is. That could be cargo. Whoa, this is definitely a Hong Kong to New York passenger plane. Definitely a passenger plane. Look at this. Whole passenger plane filled with potential contaminated people from Hong Kong. Well, that's right. China no longer has anybody infected. It's only America that's being held hostage. Come on, people, wake up. This president never should have shut our economy down. What the hell? Not only is he a buffoon, and he's listening to buffoons who are simply mouthpieces for the Rockefellers, but this guy, Trump, is in it for a profit. He wants to make money on the COVID test kits. So the agenda to push COVID test kits on everybody is Donald Trump's. Jared Kushner and his brother Joshua and Oscar Health are slated to make $1 billion on this thing. And it's all coming out of our credit line in America. Nancy Pelosi is like foaming at the mouth looking for more cash. She's putting together another $3 trillion aid bill because they just love the money. Our country's being bankrupted right before your very eyes. And you got this kind of stuff happening. And you're wondering, gee, maybe I should vote Donald Trump or Biden. I don't know. And they're both demented, lying old men who are perverts. You couldn't possibly be this stupid that you'd think that those two guys are going to save this nation. We're screwed under those two guys. Oh, we got Diggin' Brits too. Misanthropy found one of her stuff. She's going to show how to burn grass weeds with propane. That'll be fun. Yeah, so we're going to look at an enforcement officer coming up right around now. And we got another video. A guy, Wasteful Wednesday features some repair jobs. This guy is going to repair a Mopar. It's an old car. Vice Grip Garage. He's going to repair a car, some sort of a car. We're going to cover that. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. This is David Sponheim signing out. It's been a nonstop effort to do 14-hour shows now for 59 days, nonstop. And I can't imagine anybody even getting close to this historically. I'm in a virgin territory. Nobody's going to even catch up to all the work I put in. And for 12 years now, we've maintained a daily show without skipping a beat. Even on our trips across country, we gave you a show, no matter how difficult it was. So you've got to understand, my dedication is 100%. I have a plan to reduce the dangers and risks of the 5G network by testing it for safety and building Faraday shields and limiters to prevent field radiation from affecting all of us. So these other candidates don't have these plans. I'm the only candidate running for office right now who promises you I will never force vaccinate any of you, ever. And we won't COVID ID test you, or we won't stick chips in you either. It's a violation of your Fourth Amendment. So you got to look to the future. If you want a better candidate, you're going to have to start telling people about me as rapidly as possible. I've been censored on all levels across the country, and I've received nothing but hostility, hatred, contradictions from people in the mainstream media, and no one will give me any airtime. So we've got a big, big challenge ahead. They're turning this entire event a mountain out of a molehill. It's just unbelievable how wrong they're doing. The amount of people dying, relatively speaking, per day is that little orange dot there. That's how many people are dying right now in the world. Yeah, it's crazy. Per day. Whereas every single day people die of tuberculosis, hepatitis B, pneumonia. We never shut our country down for pneumonia, did we? But we're shutting our country down for this. This is total bullshit. We're being lied to, and our president has been a total two-faced liar. We got to get out of this hellhole we're in, and we got to work our way out. If you can get me to the White House, I can help us get out of this hellhole. I've got the brain power to do it, folks. Let's make it happen. Keep the faith. Keep telling people about a third party. I appreciate it. And keep watching the show. We fill your day with lots of interesting information and link gathering like you'll never find in the mainstream media, ever. Great stuff from all of our link gatherers. Thanks, guys, for doing all that. It's not easy combing the internet looking for interesting stuff. Okay. I will sign off now. Thank you for participating and being part of our show. Bye-bye. America is ready for a change. A third party is the change we need. Accountability in government, term limits for Congress, media verification, and a fresh approach to fixing our environment. We need a new direction for our nation. Join us in the middle of the political spectrum for our nightly commentary and discussion at America's Third Party.